Hello! You know what it is today, Quinton?
The Tier List Tuesday.
It's Tuesday, there's a tier list, you put the two together, it's peanut butter and jelly.
Tier List Tuesday.
You get Tier List Tuesday. Everyone loves Tier List Tuesday, we love Tier List Tuesday, you love Tier List Tuesday, so we're here to bring more to you.
Yep.
I think that's probably as many tier lists and Tuesdays as
required.
As required.
By law.
All right.
And you know what we're ranking today, Jack?
What are we ranking today,
Every single faction.
Every single faction in the entire game. Where do they stand on a power level?
You know, we did some of these a while ago, but we think we can do better.
Yes,
We've played a lot of games since then.
There's a difference between first takes of the edition without really having played any games and having gone to WTC.
Yep.
Yeah. So there's a difference in prep there, a little bit. And I think we're here with a more well-rounded view of what the meta looks like.
I agree.
So, just a disclaimer, when we do our tier lists, we don't do it off of pure win rate.
No.
Right? Win rate can inform some things, but if you want that, go to Stat Check. They are excellent at analyzing the win rates and the stats behind things. But there's a difference in how some armies play, or can play in the hands of a skilled specialist, or in the hands of someone who really knows what they're doing, versus how it'll play over a broad swath of the population. And we're here, our expertise is how to play the game at the highest level. So how can you play these armies at the highest level? What is their power level when the best players in the game get their hands on them?
Yep.
So that's what we're here to do. So there is going to be a little bit of... some armies are going to rank higher, some armies are going to rank lower than they do in Gen Pop, basically. Yep. All right. So that's what we're doing, ranking all the armies in the game, and just with a retrospective on, now that we have a more well-rounded view of the edition.
All right.
So
let's get into this.
Let's get into it.
Before we do, we have a fun fact, though.
Oh, do we have a Quinton's
fun fact? Today's not a very fun fact, but I think it's pretty fun. Is that Eldar have won, on average, an event every 1.5 days.
That is true. The edition launched...
about 2 months ago?
Slightly less than 2 months ago.
Eldar are nearing 40 event wins.
Yes.
Yay.
Great spoiler alert for where they're going to place on our tier. Dead last. They're terrible. Okay. Eldar are bad. No. All right, so let's get into it. We are holding our super chats till the end. We will do every single super chat. If you have a super chat with a question, anything like that, we will get to it. But we're not going to answer them in between all of our different tier list rankings. We're going to keep it a concise video, or concise. This one's going to be long, but at the end we'll get to all of them. Don't worry.
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
So first up, we have basic Space Marines.
Generic Space Marines in a Gladius that you find in Index Adeptus Astartes, including Ultramarines and all of the random chapters that just have one character.
Yep, likely Ultramarines
yeah.
is probably the best generic Gladius, but that feels a little...
Yeah.
They're pretty good.
They're pretty fine.
They're pretty good. A Gladius of generic Marines ends up with... The only reason you'd really do that, a Gladius of generic Marines versus a Gladius of, Dark Angels or something.
Yeah.
Is so that you end up with some special characters.
Yeah.
And there's some decent ones in there.
They're really not bad.
Gullman is quite good.
Yep.
There's a couple other ones. Vulcan's pretty decent. Pedro Cantor's actually fairly decent.
If you want to run Terminators, Light-Hander's kind of hilarious. He
is. He gives them -1 to be wounded.
Isn't he a 2-up infilm too? Once a game?
He himself, I believe, has a 2-up infilm. Yeah, once a game. So, generic Gladius Marines are pretty good, and the Gladius rules are baller. Mm-hmm. There's a reason why other Space Marine chapters...
I'll take it.
Oftentimes take the Gladius. Advance in charge, fall back in charge, and advance shoot and charge, fall back and shoot, fall back and charge, etc. Yeah. All of those are very good. The ability to put people into them over and over. Bolter Discipline as an enhancement is an incredible one. You just take a shooting unit and crank it to 53.
Desolators or aggressors or even Hellblasters really benefit from Bolter Discipline.
Yeah, really. Or Stern Guard, just really
it's
any
just
unit.
A very good buff.
It's a very good
It's a lot
buff.
like Florials to Hit Wound, where you just give it to anything and it becomes crazy.
Interesting you should mention that. All Space Marines get access to Oath of Moment.
What a shock.
What a shock. And Gladius is no exception. Oath of Moment is fantastic. Mm-hmm. And having access to Guilliman for double Oath of Moment is double the fun.
Yep.
So, Gladius Marines, they are good. They're quite solid. I don't think I would say that they're, like, broken or anything. Mm-hmm. Not particularly close. They have some pretty gross interactions. It does feel pretty rough to be on the receiving end of a Bolter Discipline unit shooting you. They have some great indirect pieces with Whirlwinds and Desolators. So they are a good army, for sure. They have some good units, aggressors with Bolter Discipline and a Harm Assist.
Yep. The Land Raider Redeemer is also, like, shockingly pretty good.
It's shockingly good, right? Yeah, like, that's just real good. They have access to Armor of Contempt, which is really, really good. They're just generically strong.
Yeah.
But they're not, like, broken.
No. This army actually is much more balanced than I originally thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
I thought Marines were going to be much stronger. I would say that now they're in, like, the low A, high B tier kind of range.
Yeah, I think like a low A is kind of what we're looking at. Maybe
they're
high
like
B.
They're like B.5.
Yeah, they're in between. They're like a B plus or an A minus for sure. Yeah. I think B plus is probably accurate. I mean, if we're looking to use all 5 tiers, I think let's start off with B here because these guys are kind of center, and then we can adjust up and down.
I think it's a good call. Yeah.
All right.
Admech. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah.
Okay.
Admech, not great.
What do you do if you're playing a faction whose army rule actively hurts you in like half the matchups?
It doesn't, but it actively doesn't do anything a lot of the time.
It's really not good.
What do you do if your units are expensive and don't do anything?
Yeah. There was a game I played against Admech, and he shot me for 5 turns. Richard did, and I didn't really lose any models. Because they all hit on 4s.
Yeah, I'm used to Admech shooting being apocalyptic, and then they shoot really you, and then it's just not.
Bounce clean off.
And then they have like 100 and something point 10-man units of not great.
It's like 100-point guardsman units.
It's a little rough,
man. They're really not good.
They have one good unit. It's the Manipulus or whatever, the dude with the super flamer.
He's great. He's amazing. But he can only his back's not big enough to carry the entire faction.
No. You get a cool character with an enhancement who can do some damage, and the rest of your army is not great.
Yep.
I think the little crawly guys with like grav guns or something are decent, but
the Cataphrons are okay, and the Onagers are fine.
Yeah, that's not really getting me super excited.
No, like the best unit in their book is like,
Yeah, Skitarii are 125, which is embarrassing.
Yeah.
12.5 points a model for that unit is pretty rough.
Straight to D tier. Admech are down there.
Yep. They're one of the worst armies in the game, no questions. It's a little staggering, the difference between bad army and good army. It's not that like a bad army has a thing that they do that isn't good.
No, they just don't do anything.
They just have no rules.
Yeah.
And it's insane. Like it's not like they do a thing, but that thing just isn't that great, right?
Also, just like
they do
math
leadership
on the damage between like Admech and Eldar is like insanity.
Yeah, it's clearly written by like different people.
Yeah,
it's just not the same. So Admech is the first in our inclusion into the does nothing and dies tier.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's just Space Marines, they do things. There's things that are good. There are things that are bad. Admech just don't have things that they do.
There are options in Space Marines, just like not options in the Admech book. Yeah.
All right. Imperial Guard.
They're better than I thought they were going to be.
Same.
John was right in that the faction has no push, but Sentinels can kind of make up for it. And also, boy howdy, do you not need to push when your opponent is dead.
The amount of indirect the army can put out is
astounding.
Is thoroughly gross.
Yeah, it's like 3 basilisks and 3 Medusa carriages and 3 of the other Forge World thing, and then 3 manticores and I don't know, throw like a wyvern or something for funsies.
Yes. Basically England and Poland, 2 very good WTC teams, both had Guard, and they both did quite well. Yeah, there were some armies I wish that we had for sure. They were very good. They're basically like 8 or 9 indirect platforms plus a bunch of expendable garbage to push up board, and it was solid.
It's expendable garbage that comes back to life too.
Yeah, it was expendable garbage that comes back to life, and it would just shell you from across the board, and it has some downsides, right? Like, their indirect won't kill everything. It
kills a lot, though.
It kills a lot. It won't kill, like, very high toughness things like monsters and vehicles.
I was talking to Ben McYurick, and he said if he combined fire, he could kill a Wraith Knight with the indirect.
Okay, and then you can't get away from it.
Yep.
So
it's range, like, 4 tables.
Yeah, it's like range 420.
Yeah.
It's range 69. Like, it just shoots. And triple Medusas, triple Basilisk, triple Earthshaker, triple Manticore, in some combination of that. I mean, you could take all of that, actually, if you felt like it.
Yeah.
But you don't have to take all of it. You can just take, I think both of them took like 9 or 8 platforms or something, and it's gross. Medusas hit on 3s indirect, re-rolling, because they're heavy.
But only if you're 5 or more models.
Only if you're 5 or more models.
But still, it's like every unit.
But still, it's like D6 plus 1 shots, I want to say, with Blast, that re-roll to hit, and are heavy, so they get plus 1 to hit, so that counteracts the minus 1 for indirect.
Whoever decided that any indirect gun should ever have heavy
just clearly didn't understand what they were doing, but like every indirect gun in Guard has heavy, so if they stand still, which they're indirect, you're standing still. If they stand still, they just offset the negative. And then you give them plus 1 from an order, and then all of a sudden we are gaming now.
Yeah, it's nuts.
And if you're seen by a Scout Sentinel, then you ignore the indirect penalty in its entirety. If you are hit by one of the little skirmishy flame tanks, forget.
Oh, the Hellhounds.
The Hellhounds, thank you. If you're hit by one of those, then they ignore cover, and then all of a sudden Manticores hit on 2s into you.
Yeah, the fact when indirect hits on 2s out of line of sight.
With rerolls.
Wow.
For the record. All the platforms hit on 3s, and yeah, it gets a little inefficient to stack orders on all of this, but you can make it work if you really give it a shot. And then you just shell people into the next dimension.
Yep.
And there are some good direct fire pieces as well. So there's a lot of guns out of this army, and guns are good in 10th edition 40k.
I would put them right below Marines.
I think B tier is about right. Yeah. There are some issues with the army.
It definitely has a lack of push potential.
Yeah, it doesn't like jam its units up the board well. It doesn't take over space well. But if you can go into 9 indirect batteries and tell me you win that 100% of the time going first or second, you're lying to me.
If that army goes first, it just kills like 30% of your stuff, just like every single turn.
Nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
I mean, Austin here in chat basically said it perfectly. Everyone hates indirect. Let's make it a faction's identity, and then let's make them good at killing things out of line of sight.
Sure. I firmly believe that the indirect rule needs to just leave the game and be replaced with something else. I think every single gun with the indirect rule should just be a different gun.
I think so, for sure.
I just think, like, I get that it's fluffy. I think it's, like, cool in theory, but it has never been good for the game, or it has been terrible. I think it needs to do something else. Yeah.
I mean, Guard are solid. I think B tier here is just a solid army that is fine. Like, there's no... Like, you can do well with it.
Most B-tier armies are where armies should be.
Should be.
Right?
I think their identity should be very different.
Yes.
I don't think 9 indirect platforms should be the way to go.
Yeah, I have a confession to make, Jack. I kind of want to play Guard.
Monster.
No. Not like the 9 indirect battery Guard. I want to run, like, a list that's, like, 3 Chimeras with infantry squads in them and, like, 2 or 3 Leman Russes and, like, some of the heavy weapon guys with the las cannons.
Oh yeah, that sounds sick.
That sounds like a fun army, but that's not how Guard play right now.
No, it's not. Okay, Guard play like, I think it was, the saying was for Skark, who's Team Poland's Guard player, was he shows up to the table, he plays Tetris with his models. He just plays Tetris with them. Then he plays Solitaire.
Yep.
And then you play Yahtzee.
Did you see? I had Typhus walk over to me, who was one of the streamers at WTC, and he was like,
Polish.
He was like, I need you to come look at this table. And so I walk over, and Skark, the Polish Guard player, has a Medusa carriage on his opponent's back line doing deploy teleport homers. Because they're infantry, so they can go through walls.
Yeah, you can do that when your opponent died turn 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they definitely need to change indirect back to how it was in 9th. They just screwed it up for no reason.
Yeah, I don't know.
Unfortunately. It is misery to play against Guard. It's probably misery to play with Guard, too.
It's also misery to play against Desolation Marines and Night Spinners and insert efficient indirect piece here. Like, that should all just go away.
Just kill generically stuff. I think Guard have some weaknesses. They can struggle to kill, like, some things. Some things get the jump on them pretty easily. They struggle to take the midboard back. But, oh my god, does the damage just come out of line of sight? Nothing you can do about it. Yep. All right. Next up,
we have the Blood Angles.
We have the Blood Angels.
Your favorite Blood faction.
Angels. Yes, my favorite Space Marine army. My favorite faction. I have a tattoo of Blood Angels. I won the ITC last year off the back of Blood Angels. Love the army. They've done some things to the army in 10th edition that I'm not happy about.
Oh. How many points are Sanguinary?
Stop. 43. A model.
Model.
Why? Wild.
Why?
You can get an Assault Terminator for 3 points less. I don't understand at all. Sanguinary Guard, my favorite unit in 9th edition, bar none, consistently for...
This is your fault, Jack.
Several years.
There were like one players doing well at events with Sanguinary Guard to the sun.
No, I think they're just trying to mix up what units you take, and everyone took Sangard last edition, including myself. But 43 point a model Sangard is a crime.
Yeah.
They're a decent unit. They're not even spammable because they have to be with your Warlord in the unit in order to get their full buffs. Mm-hmm. And so they're like 43 points a model. Yeah. That unit must cost 430 and be 2 wound Marines.
Yep.
Sick.
I think Blood Angels, like, they have some cool stuff, but unfortunately I think they are just worse than Ultramarines in terms of what you get in a Gladius.
Yeah, there are some cool things you can do with Blood Angels. Yeah. I know I just complained about them. I caught flack for basically all of 9th edition for overrating Blood Angels.
Yeah.
I think I rated them fine. But, you know, who was right in the end? Maybe the guy who won LVO with Blood Angels, who can say.
Who knows?
But that is not where they're going to be this edition.
No.
The Sanguinor is very good.
He's great.
Let's lead off with the things that are great. The Sanguinor is awesome.
Foot Death Company.
Foot Death Company and Jump Pack Death Company are quite solid.
Yeah.
After that, you are relying on
Space Marine units.
Space Marine units without the Gladius.
So we have this choice here, right, about how we're going to rank Space Marine units. Because a lot of the units, we could just say Blood Angels or Gladius. But I kind of feel like we should adjust all of the chapters based off their respective detachment.
Yeah.
Rather than the Gladius.
I do think Blood Angels detachment is worth using.
It is one of the better ones.
Yeah, Black Templars and Deathwatch are the ones where you could say, like, hey, I think this one's decent enough to use. Blood Angels on the charge hit legitimately very, very hard.
Yeah, they're impressively hard.
And they have some good stratagems. They have Fight on Death, which I think generic Marines have. Yeah. Armor Contempt, same deal. But they have things like Lance and Lethal hits, which stacks up against +1 AP.
I think I'd
Lance
+1 AP.
Probably, depends on what you're going into.
Yeah, that's fair.
They have Fallback and Charge as a strat instead of... I guess it's kind of a side grade.
Mm-hmm.
You have some side grades to the Gladius, as long as you're using combat, and then you get the +1 strength and attacks, which on the charges is very good.
Mm-hmm.
That legitimately takes units to the next level in terms of damage.
+1 attack is a massive buff.
It is, for sure. I think Blood Angels are fine.
They're fine.
They're fine. I think they're going to be a lot better if the top of the meta gets its legs cut out from under it.
Yeah.
Because they just don't have anything for the truly broken armies.
Blood Angels feel like an army that doesn't actually need to get changed. It needs the game to get changed around it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also Sanguinary Guard, please, for the love of God. Just make them not 43 points a model. What are we doing?
How many points would you pay for a Sanguinary Guard profile?
I'm not going to interrogate that idea. What I'm going to say is I want them to go back down to 30.
That's fair.
I don't know. I just don't want them to be 43. 43, why don't they just delete the entry if they're going to do that? God damn.
That's really not great. All right, so I did like B tier. I'd say just below Gladius Marines.
I would say probably C.
C?
I'm looking to spread out the factions
That's
along
fair.
this thing. We can reevaluate them.
Okay, we'll put them in C.
C. I think they're like fine, but just what they do is not good in 10th, which is melee.
Yeah, that is a good point. You'll notice a lot of melee armies towards the bottom.
Yep. I want to take a little bit of a break here to talk about the War Room.
The War Room?
The War Room is our website. So it's thewarroom.vhx.tv, where you can access a lot of videos where we go in detail about tactics and strategies that we use at events and how to become a better player, learn the game, and become your best. And then you can join our global community in our Discord. Now, if you want to give all of that a shot, there's a 3-day free trial down in the link below. And you can check that out, see what we're all about. I think you'll like it. Okay. Back
to the Black Templars.
Back to the Black Templars.
The Jack Templars.
I was very not rosy on Black Templars last edition. I thought they were... I loved them in their little index iteration, and then they completely changed them for later on the rest of the edition. I didn't think they were that good.
No, I didn't think they were that good either. They were like, I'm going to walk Space Marines at you, and then every army could kill Space Marines.
Yes.
Yep.
I think they're significantly better this edition, even though they still kind of do the same thing.
Yeah. Their unit of Assault Terminators is quite good.
It's nuts, yeah. Assault Terminators with either a chaplain or a captain, and a Tannhauser's Bones give them a 5 but feel no pain. Yeah. Very durable. And can hit pretty decently hard, especially if you have a chaplain in there for +1 to wound. So I think they're fairly decent now. The blocks of 20 with a 6-up feel no pain or 5-up, they have some good characters. I think they're better. I don't think they're great, because they still kind of do the same thing.
They're also a slow melee army, which is not where you want to be today.
Not ideal.
I think probably in C2 next to Blood Angels.
I was going to say like low B. I think they're better. I think they actually are durable.
They have something. Blood Angels don't.
They get the same level of firepower as Blood Angels.
They do.
Out of generic Marines. But they get, like, that Terminator unit is legitimately great.
Yeah. It's, like, hard to kill.
It's hard to kill. And then they get access to, like, Grimaldus, who can make a unit have a 5 but feel no pain, which is also tough to kill. And then you put some shooting behind it. You can Rapid Ingress now, which is a big difference from 9th edition. Rapid
Ingress makes those, like, slow-moving deep strike units way better.
For sure. Yeah, like that Assault Terminator unit would just not be very good in 9th edition. I mean, sorry, it was, but you had to put resources into it and stuff like that. Now you just show up next to somebody, walk forward, and start the party.
Yep.
So I think Templars are decent. The 6-up Feel No Pain Army wide was huge. I recorded a game with Nick yesterday to go live next week. The 6-up Feel No Pain was massive when I played it. Just having that on every unit in the army is pretty gross. But still, I think generic Gladius is just better.
Yeah, I agree. Chaos Demons.
Demons. So what do you think about Chaos Demons?
Nick is really high on them. He thinks they're great. I have been whelmed or underwhelmed every time I see them. Like, the Bellicor aura is neat. It is quite good.
It is good. That's the aura of you can't shoot them unless they're within 18 inches.
Yeah. And Shalaxi hits very hard. But the army always kind of feel like Bellicor and Shalaxi have a party, and then there's, like, 1,000 random points of stuff.
Yeah. I will say their ability to kind of swarm the board.
Yeah.
Or not swarm the board. Their ability to, like, take objectives and score secondaries is very good.
It is, yeah. Flamers are very good, too.
Flamers are very good. Pinks are very good. They have a number of good, like, mid-size units that are quite good as well.
I think they're actually quite good.
I think they're good.
Yeah. Like, Bellicor and Shalaxi are enough to, like, really lift the faction up, and they have stuff that can support it.
Yes. And then it's the Shalaxi party, which is pretty fun. Okay. And then you have a bunch of secondary, primary scoring / denial.
I would put demons below generic Marines, but above Guard.
I think I would probably put it here. I think
they're better than generic Marines?
Generic Marines are, like, fine.
They really are just fine. I have been so unimpressed with Marines when I play them.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. I think the demons are better than Marines. I'll go with that. Yeah. Okay.
All right, so... Unfortunately, our 2 knight pictures are kind of hard to tell apart.
Yep.
Also, by the way, they're just generically, like, big demons are pretty decent. They're hard to kill now.
Yeah, they are.
The Lords of Change
shoot really hard.
The Lords of Change shoot really hard, especially the one with the staff. Bloodthirster's pretty decent. You can make a really dumb, tough, Great Unclean one if you really feel like it.
Feel no pain?
Yeah.
It has, on average, like, 80 wounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that can't be bad, right?
No.
Probably. But yeah, I think demons are very tricky and have some just great stat lines and great deliverability. I think they're solid.
Yep.
Okay, so Imperial Knights is this one, and then the dark one is Chaos Knights. Unfortunately, our icons just look very similar.
Imperial Knights, the bane of the first weeks of 10th edition.
Then they got slapped in the face very hard with a point.
They are much less good than I thought they were.
So that's very dependent on terrain.
That's fair.
If you play them on a board where obscuring is doing most of the heavy lifting, then you are about to get shot full of holes.
GW terrain.
Yeah, if you play them on GW terrain or something like that, where the terrain is very functional, but it relies on the fact that you can't see past ruins, even if there's windows in them, or even if they're short, or whatever.
God forbid you're playing them on like an FLG table.
Yeah.
Not FLG like the company, like friendly local game store.
Yes.
Yeah.
You just get shot.
Yes.
And very, very likely Knights will shoot harder than you.
That's fair. They're also toughness like 12 across the board, and you're probably not.
Yeah, you're probably not. Don't worry, it's true equality, right? The toughness 12 Canis Rex with just bristling with guns can see you just as well as you, the guardsman, can see it. Don't worry, this is equal. We're all equal here.
All fair.
Yes.
I wish we could like cut the knight thing in half and be like, if you are playing on no terrain, they are here. If you are playing on WT terrain, they're here. Because if there's like an L that you can hide behind,
they get worse.
They get much worse.
They get much worse.
Yeah.
They're still fine though.
It's okay.
On those tables, they're like B tier. They're like solid.
I
on
think low A
dense.
tier.
Yeah, I would probably say that. Because we forgot because we've been playing only on WTC terrain for the last month or something. But if you play this on not that and you go second, you're dead.
Yep.
Sorry. I don't care. If you're Eldar and you go second, you're dead.
No.
On empty board?
No.
Brother. If you let 2 Crusaders and Canis Rex tee off on whatever they want in your army, you're fine.
Well, the thing is, I don't want to get into that, but it depends on deployment zone. A lot of times you can just outrange them.
Okay.
Because they can't kill the Wraith Knight turn 1.
That's true. The Wraith Knight is
Canis Rex can't get into range.
Sorry, I used the wrong example.
Any other army.
Any real army.
A real army, yes.
So I do think that they're going to wind up down here.
Yeah, I agree. But for now, they're pretty good.
They're a bit of a Yahtzee, though.
Yeah, they really are.
All right.
Straight to the top.
This one is going to take a couple minutes. Where do you think? Here?
Seems good.
Get your screenshots. Do you think, here? What are you thinking?
A little higher.
What are you thinking, there?
A little higher, even.
Do you want an army that has a historically high win rate?
Nah, let's bring it up.
Go
there we go.
There.
72%, baby. Let's go.
72%. Is that counting for the mirror or not?
That is counting for the mirror.
That is counting for the mirror. Because GW is it's in the high 60s.
It's 68.
Let's not account for the fact that it is, 95% of tournaments are just Eldar playing each other.
Yeah,
let's not account for the mirror. They definitely have a 68%
I think the Salt Lake City
Open
or something just happened, and 4 of the top 5 were Eldar. WTC War Masters was 3 of the top 4 were Eldar.
One of them was you.
One of them was me. Every single team at WTC had an Eldar player. Lone Star was won by Eldar. Should we go on?
Sure. Why not? Let's talk about why it's broken.
Okay.
Because the fact that Eldar is broken
is well known.
It's well known, and it is something that is borne out by our experience and the numbers.
Yep.
So oftentimes what happens is an army has a 65% win rate or something that is way out of band with what it should have.
Yeah.
And we're like, well, if you play it and both players really know what they're doing and maybe they put a little tech in, then you're fine. That is not the case with Eldar.
No. You could play against Drukhari when they were at their height if you took specific units and you really know what you were doing. John's Ultra Memes list, for example.
Yep. The Deathwatch list we wrote.
Really good.
Yeah, things like that. Really good to Dark Eldar.
There's just not if you take the most hard-teched anti-Eldar list, you're batting at 40%.
Yeah, there is no way for most factions to get to a 50% win rate against Eldar.
Nope.
Just not a thing that can exist for most armies. Some armies can get to a 50. If you want to get higher than a 50%, it is very tough and not consistent. No. And that is a couple armies being cherry-picked. It just doesn't work. So,
can we take a minute?
We absolutely can.
Yes.
Thank you, John McCardell, hero of Art of War. We love you so much. Thank you for gifting 20 Art of War 40K memberships to people in chat.
John McCardell is the person that lets me eat every month.
That's true.
Yeah, he personally stocks my pantry.
If we only pay Quinton in John McCardell sub money, that's it. That's in his contract.
I got like a cartoon bucks with like John McCardell's face on it. It's great.
Well, no, you get one of those like giant novelty checks. Thank you so much, John McCardell. Yes. You are the absolute best.
Yes. Okay, so back to Eldar.
So why are they broken, Quinton?
So let's start at the top. Every unit has 1 hit and 1 wound reroll, which is just like nuts efficiency. It's just really good because you take a lot of like low shot weapons and it makes everything super reliable. Essentially what it means is your whole army has full rolls to hit and wound all the time.
I legitimately cheer whenever my Eldar opponent does not score 2 wounds with a fire prism.
It's funny.
I'm just like, woo, he did it! He missed a shot!
Rolled a 1 and do a 1. So 20 more?
20 more!
Wow.
John McCardell, what a hero! Just when they thought he was out, he was only ready to get started or
Maybe
something
I'll get to pay my rent too.
That would be crazy, right?
I know,
you won't get kicked out of this one?
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Quinton is too skinny, he needs more food. Thank you, John McCardell.
Love you, John McCardell. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I don't really have anything else to say.
Okay, so back to why Eldar are broken. So that is just there. That's the thing you have to consider. Second, fate dice means that your you're like theoretically unreliable army is not unreliable, right? Because like you have a lot of mechanics that proc on 6s and then you can just sub in 6s, which is fine if you have to roll them and you only get 2 or 3 6s a game. But Farseers mean that you get like 10 6s a game.
Yes.
Cool. So that's Farseers. Also, full rolls to hit and -1 to wound are very good.
Yeah. The way it works is you can sub in one of your fate dice that you roll ahead of time. Mm-hmm. Sub that in for a roll before you roll it. Yep. So things like damage, you're just like 6. All right, it's 8 damage off a Bright Lance.
So like,
fun.
We all talk about fate dice for things like, oh, you use it every time for the Wraith Knight. But also like, we played a game the other day, and I was like, well, I'm going to hand you 5 saves. And you need to fail 1 because whatever wounds your character is, I'm just going to match that.
Well, you also made a 10-inch charge off of a fate die as well to have that happen. Yeah, you made a 10-inch charge off of a fate die, got into combat, made me fail 1 save on my 7-wound guy, and then said he's dead.
Yep.
Love that. Yep. That was a cool and interactive experience for me. Okay. But don't worry, you can run out of 6s. But as you were saying,
the Farseer
every turn, every player turn, can flip one of your fate die to a 6 before you use it within 12 inches?
12 inches.
12 inches, which at that point is just joking. Like, what are we doing?
The Farseers also give you -1 to wound or full rerolls to hit.
Or both, because you take both.
Or because you take both.
So,
and 1 comes back to life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So not only are there army rules, right? Yep. Their detachment rule is a reroll a hit and wound, which is stupid.
Yep.
As soon as we saw that, we realized Eldar is going to be busted because that army rule is gross. Mm-hmm. Not only are fate dice really, really, really good, but army rules are all good. Yeah. Their stratagems are insane. They're insane. The best stratagem 40K has ever seen.
Full stop.
Phantasm. Phantasm. It's the best stratagem 40K has ever seen, ever, period.
At the end of your opponent's movement phase, move a unit 7 inches.
Yes.
Any unit. No range restrictions.
Move
7 inches.
Every other ability like this requires your opponent to move within 9 inches of you. Yep. And those abilities are very strong. Mm-hmm. They're very good. But Phantasm, there is no playing around it. Your Eldar opponent will just move after you have moved. They can get perfect information. Did I leave a little hole on this side of my screens or whatever? Did I mess up? No, I didn't. Phantasm.
Yep.
Did you pop out to shoot me? No, you didn't. I'm behind a wall now. And then I will pop out, and you're not Eldar, so you're dead. Yeah. And then if you want to pop out again to shoot at me,
I leave.
I'm out.
Did you?
And then I pop back out and kill you.
Did you not pop out? Oh, I'm going to go forward now.
Yep. Yeah. We're going to Phantasm forward.
Did you Deep Strike to make a 9-inch charge? No, you didn't. Now it's a 13-inch charge. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then I shoot you.
Yeah. So, but you can Vex Phantasm. But it's okay, because you have an Autarch, who is a move 14, assault gun with a melted gun, fights first, good in combat, grenade strat, lone op that gives you a CP every turn, who can move 34 inches.
Yes.
Yes.
Also, he's a lone op with Phantasm, which is the grossest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
You move in range to shoot him. He's like, no, you didn't. I'm 12.1 inches away, actually. So you can't charge me, you can't shoot me.
But it's okay, because Eldar also have the highest damage in the game.
They do?
Because all of their guns are like, what if I was your gun, but randomly better? So my heavy bolters are +1 strength. My my las cannons have +1 damage.
Yep.
I play the same points cross, though.
But let's talk about Devastating Wounds, Quinton.
Yeah.
Devastating Wounds is a rule where if you roll a 6, it does the damage value in mortals. So there are plenty of good Devastating Wound weapons in Eldar. Wraithguard are still very good even after the nerf, do not worry. And D cannons are still very good.
Yep.
They're still just almost as good as they were before, but whatever. Wraith Knights are really stupid.
Oh, yeah.
So they fire, it's very simple, right? They're towering, so they get all the benefit of bad terrain like Knights do.
Yep.
And except they're more durable than Knights because you're going to make them toughness 12, -1 to wound with a 2-up armor save, cover -1 damage.
Yep.
That's
and fate
tight.
dice, so the first real save doesn't count.
That's right.
Yeah.
First real save just
Unless
pass.
you're AP6.
So then they shoot you. They're going to reroll hits because you have an Autarch.
You have a Farseer.
Oh, sorry, Farseer. My bad. You have a dude on a bike telling them to reroll hits. And it's only 2d3 shots. It's easy. Blast.
Yep.
So if you're shooting at a unit of like 10 guys, it's actually 2d3 + 4. And then we enter the slot machine. And the slot machine is you roll your hits, you reroll them, sick. Then you roll your wound rolls. And you reroll one of them. And every wound at this strength, like 20 gun, sure, why not? Every wound on this strength 20 gun is AP for 2d6 damage. That hurts like just absolute jerk. That hurts really hard. But every 6 is instead 2d6 mortals. So, what's going to happen is they're going to shoot at your unit. They're going to get like 8 hits. Then with those 8 hits, they're going to hold 1 die back. This will become important later. And they will roll the other dice. And if they roll no 6s on like 7 dice, you are fine. They'll also reroll one of those because they have a free wound reroll. So 0 6s on 8 dice, you are fine. You're okay, right? You just took a bunch of AP4 high damage shots. But on a big unit with an invuln and the Wraith Knight's 475, fair. Fine, even. Then they sub a fate die in for the wound roll on the last one, and that's 2d6 mortals, and that stings harder than it should. But if they roll like, on those 8 dice, right, 7 dice plus a reroll, if they roll like 2 6s, you have been scoured from the face of the earth. If they roll 2 6s and then sub a fate die in for the third one, you are going to take an unholy amount of damage. They can still save a CP reroll for the damage roll on one of those 2d6. So if they happen to roll a 3, no, they didn't. It's an 8. And then you take an average of 21 mortals and a bunch of AP4 high damage saves. That's if they roll 2.
Yep.
If they roll more than that, I don't know, you and your mother are both dead. Like, it doesn't really matter at that point. So that's pretty nuts. So Wraith Knights can just scour basically any unit in the game from existence. And honestly, the average that they roll 0 6s on 8 dice is very low. It's very likely you're going to take at least 2d6 mortals. Or sorry, at least 4d6 mortals, right? They roll 1 and then they sub 1 in. And then you just take a bunch of saves. Mm-hmm. So you're dead. Sweet. But at least you have a movement phase. You're going to move. Then they overwatch you. And Eldar Overwatch is pretty nasty. On the Wraith Knight especially. Again, they fire these 8 shots, and they re-roll their hits because they have guide, because for some reason. So they get like 2 to 3 hits. They again hold 1 back, and they roll their other ones. So if they hit 3 times, which is, roughly average on 8 shots, with full rerolls. They hit like 3 times, they hold 1 back, they roll 2, and they reroll 1. That is a 50-50 chance of getting a 6 on those dice. Then they sub in another die for the other one, and it's like a 50-50 shot that you just took 46 mortals in your own turn. Just for trying to move. And then they'll shoot you again in their turn. And don't worry, you can't kill this thing. So, that's pretty nuts. if you followed me on all of that. That is pretty gross. So Wraith Knights are gross, but don't worry. Also, Eldar across the board is just better than you with better rules than you.
Yep. I don't feel like we need to beat the horse anymore, even though it's still alive and, rampaging through events. You want to talk about some Chaos Space Marines?
I would love to talk about some Chaos Space Marines.
Chaos Space Marines!
So they're CSM.
One of the factions that is much better than I thought they were going to be.
They're very good.
They're, really solid. And a lot of this is on the back of the old man himself.
Yeah, Abaddon.
Good old Abaddon.
Abaddon is definitely the best part of CSM. He's a very good
Or
part.
a hit reroll for Forge Fiends and Obliterators. He can join Terminators. I watched Anthony Vanilla whiff with his whole army and then have Abaddon single-handedly kill an entire knight army by himself over the course of 4 turns.
Yep. CSM, their entire gimmick is they hit harder than anyone else.
Yep. Yeah. Really just is.
They just hit very hard, and they can deliver that hit.
They really can.
Forge Fiends coming out of reserves or just shooting hit absurdly hard, but then can also kill themselves.
Yep.
It's weird. Obliterators hit nuts hard and come out of reserves, and then can shoot indirect as well. With reroll hits. Dark Pact is a really good rule.
Very good, yeah.
Very good rule. It gives you sustained or lethal at the cost of maybe taking some mortals, and then you can trigger them on 5s. So that means that the entire army just generically hits harder than their stat lines look, and their stat lines look pretty damn good. They also have 1 CP can't shoot an early units outside 12, and 1 CP undivided units reroll all hits and wounds, and they hammer those buttons repeatedly, and Abaddon gives them an extra CP.
Yeah, I think that Abaddon and CSM generally are in high A tier. I think they're very good.
I think they're very good. Yeah. I think CSM are one of the better armies in the game.
I fully agree.
Yeah, I think they're quite good, and I think they're. I don't think they're broken or anything. I just think they're.
No, I think they're very good.
So again, just to reiterate for everyone, in case I didn't catch it at the start of the video, but we will be addressing all the super chats all at the end.
Custodes.
Custodes.
The faction that John has somehow taken WTC twice. Yeah. We all call it John Custodes list, by the way. If you do that,
this last one was John's Custodes list.
Fair, yeah.
The one from a year ago was my baby,
John's Custodes list.
I hate you. Custodes are really good. They are basically, if you look at the meta, once you get past the truly broken armies, they're quite
oppressive.
Yeah, they are.
If you want a melee army, you just lose to Custodes, and there's nothing you can do about it.
If you're on a melee army,
yeah, if you're running a melee army into Custodes.
Okay. What's a melee army?
That's fair.
In
I'm
10?
sorry. They don't really exist anymore.
Yeah.
If you teleport back in time, and you get a melee army from 9th edition, you'd lose to Custodes.
Yeah, they really don't like Custodes.
Yeah, they really don't like Custodes.
Yeah.
Because their whole army fights first and is -1 damage, and also rerolls all wounds on 50 attacks at 7, 3, 2 or something.
Yeah, Custodes definitely are the best melee army in the game. And
they're the only melee army.
They're the only melee army in the game, and they're quite good at it.
I think they are better than Knights. Probably better than CSM.
I think they're right here.
They're there,
Yeah, I think they're probably going to end up as top of A.
Yeah, I fully agree.
Somewhere in
I think they are the best A tier army.
I think so.
Yeah.
For sure. Custodes are very good. They're also very durable and control objectives very well.
Their shooting is also astoundingly good.
So you can definitely end a game against Custodes where you are like, sweet, I tabled them by the end. I have 0 points. They have all the points. Yep. Because they just camped in the center of the board tanking hits for the whole game. You can definitely have that game against them. They're very solid.
Yep.
They also hit so hard in combat that you're just dead.
Yes.
You are just dead. They got a massive benefit from rapid ingress because they can actually deliver their 6-inch moving bricks and just, here you go, catch. And then, 10 custodian guard
captain walk up to you and end your day.
Yes, and then are now on your home objective, and you're frantically trying to shoot them off, and it's not working.
Yeah, they're very good.
They're very good. All right.
The
Grey Knights. Grey Knights. So this is an army where if you look at the win rate, it is right about here or here. I don't think this is going to come as a surprise to anybody. I think they're better than that. I took them to ATC and WTC. There's a list with 30 Terminators, 3 characters, and an Exaction Squad and a Calidus. So 5 units. It is not easy to play.
No.
You have to teleport around constantly, score your points, deny your opponent points, waste time, or get aggressive. Like, know exactly what the tempo of the game is going to be. It is a tough army to play. It is very fun to play. And I think it is substantially better than their win rate. There's so many good rules in Grey Knights.
Yeah.
That if they had units like Eldar, they would be, like...
so oppressive.
They would be up here.
Yeah.
If they had good units like... Eldar has broken units and broken rules. Grey Knights just have broken rules.
I mean, I think Grey Knights have the most broken rules in the game. I just think all their data sheets are trash.
Yeah, that is accurate. They have terrible units and broken rules. So, with that in mind, like what broken rules we talked about, Mists of Deimos is one of the best strats in the game. It's not as good as Phantasm, but it's trying. It's trying its hardest. If you move within 9, they can go back into strategic reserves or move straight up 6 inches. And that is so good because everything can deep strike, and then you can rapid ingress back onto the board and just keep the shell game running. It's very hard to get close to Grey Knight units. They're very good at scoring secondaries because you can pick their units up, put them 3 inches away. At the end of every one of your opponent's turns, you can pick up as many units. Up to 3. Mm-hmm. My army had 3 units, so it's as many as I wanted. You can pick up to 3 units off the board and deep strike them back in on your turn, which is just incredible mobility. You auto advance 6. You have a great suite of strats. Amazing rules. Units are kind of overpriced and not very good and don't do very much. If they had a single shooting unit, this army would be broken. But they don't have a single shooting unit. You have to overpay pretty substantially for paladins in order to include them. But I don't want to undersell just how broken their rules are. If you try to play a straight-up game with your opponent, oftentimes this will not work. Even 30 Terminators can just not
die.
Can just not get the job done if you try to have a straight-up brawl with your opponent. But if you pick what time you commit exactly what forces to, and then evade your opponent on the rest of it, and then it can be quite good. The Terminators are OC3, so really good at camping primary, really good at stealing primary when necessary. It's a good army. I'm not going to say it's a very good army, but it is a good army if you know exactly how to play it and you have practiced with it a lot, which I had to do by WTC.
Some crippling matchups.
GSC in particular is the only matchup here where I'm like, no, thank you, this is untenable.
Yes.
Guard is rough too, but you can try and like score points there.
Eldar actually totally fine for you.
Eldar actually totally fine. Mm-hmm. Eldar actually is one of the armies... Grey Knight's actually one of the armies Eldar can lose to.
Yep.
Spoiler alert for the game coming out on Thursday between my Grey Knights and Quinton's WTC Eldar. Mm-hmm. So Grey Knight's substantially better than their win rate.
Yes, I agree.
You do have to specialize in it. You do have to practice a lot. I had to practice... A lot. You will get very even games with a lot of armies. Mm-hmm. The exceptions are things like Guard and GSC, who can just hit you regardless of whatever you try to do.
Yep.
And maybe Thousand Sons too, although I managed to beat Thousand Sons at WTC. Every other army in the game, pretty much, you can either beat or draw. Mm-hmm. Like get within 10 points of either a win or a loss, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
It's a very draw-y army.
Yeah, your matrix was like 8 to 12s across the board.
Across the board.
Except for GSC, which was like a 2.
Yes. Yeah. GSC was rough. Guard Indirect is like rough. In teams, you can get like a 6 if you just try not to do anything, but it's very rough to try to win that game. T-Sons as well. Other than that, you're pretty much even across the board. If you know what you're doing, your opponent doesn't know what you're doing, that helps. Yeah. But yeah, very even matchups into basically every army that I didn't list there. Pretty decent into Eldar because you just avoid getting hit, and you can kill Eldar if you connect. So it's this constant chain of like you score your points, they score their points, you're teleporting around, they're trying to catch you. But if they overextend, you take their home objective, and suddenly they don't kill 10 Terminators on their home objective very well. Things like that. Yeah. If you want a good example of that, in the War Room coming out on Thursday? In 2 days, in the War Room, you'll see a game between my WTC list and Quinton's WTC list. Grey Knights into Eldar. Very, very close game.
Very close game.
Very close game. So, I think they're substantially better than the win rate, which puts them here.
Yep. I think they are, like, high C tier.
I was going to put them right about there.
Okay. If you think they're there, they're probably there.
I think they're roughly middle of the pack. Mm-hmm. I think they're... Yeah, I think they're just middle of the pack. They get, like, even matchups into, like, everything, which is wild, right? Yeah. They're 50-50 into the best army in the game.
Which is something.
Which... Crazy. I played the matchup like 10 times at this point. They're roughly 50-50 into Eldar. And I played it into somebody who had played... I played 6 games or 7 games into Matt Shuckman, our Eldar player. Mm-hmm. So by the end of it, he knew my army as well as I knew his army. And we still got very even games.
Yep.
Very even games into Custodes. I haven't played the CSM matchup, but it feels like it's an even game.
Yep. Necrons, too. Very even game.
Knights, I think, are favored for you. Mm-hmm. Necrons are favored for you. Demons is even. Marines is even. Guard kind of sucks. Just even across the board, no matter what tier your opponent's in, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, that's weird.
All right.
Chaos Knights.
Chaos Knights.
A lot of small boys, really similar to last edition. Mm-hmm. I think they're fine.
Turns out Brigands still good.
Brigands are good.
Brigands are good.
I think they kind of fall off after that.
They definitely have problems into the top tier armies that can just say, yes, I have enough damage.
They're very much a stat check army, and that can you pass it? If no, you lose. If yes, then you win.
Yeah. And they have some things past there.
They do.
They have a lot of OC.
They do. A lot of OC.
A lot of OC. And they're sneakily hard to take objectives from.
Yes.
As soon as you have taken any damage whatsoever, you have to take a battle shock test. And if you're within 12 inches of them, you're at -1.
Yeah.
Which means that these OC 8 armatures, if you want to take an objective from it, oftentimes you have to put multiple units on the objective to take it away. All you got to do is fail one of those, and suddenly you can't take it away anymore. Mm-hmm. Yes.
What do you think Chaos Knights are? I think they're definitely worse than I Knight CSM Custodes.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think they're worse than Space Marines and Demons. GK are weird. I think they're worse than Guard, honestly.
I think they're worse than Guard.
I think they're just right about there.
I think they're... I might put them in high C tier.
I think they're better than... maybe Black Templars belong down here.
I think that's probably what happens, yeah. I think that's why we feel it.
Okay, Chaos Knights are pretty decent.
Yeah, they're fine.
Yeah.
Death Guard.
Faction take it away, buddy.
It doesn't do anything. It's a slow faction. It's not durable. It doesn't do damage. Right? You can, it's worse than Admech.
Yeah.
You can, add stuff to it to try and, be good, but then you're my Death Guard list of 3 Brigands and extra Demon allies, which is 1,000 points of Death Guard. The worst units in this book are all the Death Guard units. It's just not good.
Yeah.
It's bad. I'm sorry. It's just really, unfortunately, very bad.
Yeah, it doesn't do damage. It doesn't move. It doesn't have rules that work.
It's sticky objectives is cute. But the -1 toughness aura is just useless in this game.
Yeah. Also, the sticky objectives and then triggering rules based off your opponent being on your sticky objectives, but not having taken them away is the nichest corner case I can possibly imagine.
You have all these rules that I think I played probably 10 games of Death Guard so far in this edition.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's been rough. And I've had that come up exactly once. Where I was on an objective and someone tried to take it and didn't take it. And
now you're sick. I get to finally use my rules on you.
The problem is it's someone's well, I'm going to crack into you. And then I'm they're what's your extra durability? And I'm nothing. I am a Space Marine with +1 toughness. And they're wow, that's crazy. All of my guns went up in strength 2 or 3 times. So that +1 toughness doesn't matter. And I'm that seems correct. And then I die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, Death Guard aren't durable.
Yep.
They aren't fast.
Yep.
They don't do damage. And they don't have good rules.
Sure is correct. Hot. Okay. Dark Angels.
Yep. Dark Angels. So this is a bit odd, right?
Yeah.
They have some great units.
They really do.
But their detachment is kind of booty. It's not great.
Dark Angels Gladius, very good.
Dark Angels Gladius, I think, is the best kind of Space Marines in the game.
I think it is, yeah. Dark Angels Unforgiven Task Force is...
You know what? Let's call Dark Angels and Space Wolves Gladiuses, and we'll just run with that.
No, because then we're all Gladiuses. We're talking about it now. Okay, so I would put Dark Angels Gladius below, there. Right there.
Yeah.
Dark Angels Unforgiven Task Force, I'd put down by Black Templars and Blood Angels. Right there, yeah.
Yeah, it is that stark,
honestly. It is shocking how much better the Gladius is.
Yeah, well, the Gladius takes the Dark Angels units and gives them rules. So you have good units with good rules. But if you have good units with bad rules,
Yeah. Battle
then you
shock
wind
is
up
just
down
not
here
a
or
relevant
over
thing.
here.
So being good when you're battle shocked doesn't matter.
It doesn't, like, do anything. It doesn't do anything.
It doesn't matter.
But with the Gladius, their units slam. Specifically, they're Terminators. They're Terminators with Advance and Charge.
Advance and Charge is gigantic.
And the ability to move when you get near them.
Yep. It's so big.
It's so huge.
Also, Bolter Discipline.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, Bolter Discipline supporting their units is a huge deal. Like, because they just want some shooting, and they can't get some shooting otherwise.
Yep.
But the unit of Deathwing Knights in the Unforgiven Task Force is not great. It's fine. They're 470 points, plus a character. They move slow. But you take that unit, and you put in the Gladius, and it is a terror. Because not only that, they go in, their Strength 6, AP 1, 3 damage, hitting on 2s. That's not terrible, but it does have some problems. Namely, it's AP 1. If your opponent has Armor Contempt of any kind, they will pop it, and then you do no damage. But in the Gladius, they go in, you get Lance and +1 AP, and all of a sudden, I'm sorry, this is way too many saves for you. You are dead. Yeah, it hits so much harder. And then they advance and charge, and if you get near them, they can move. They're the best users of the Gladius.
Yep.
And without it, they're just fine.
They're fine. Put them in C tier. Their Unforgiven Task Force is not great. Yeah.
I mean, so here's the thing, right? Mm-hmm. I think Dark Angel's Gladius belongs here.
It does.
Regular Gladius belongs here.
I fully agree.
So I don't know what it actually says about the meta if we put it down here. Because in reality, that this is an army.
I mean,
that exists in A tier.
Are we making this tier list for people who are going to take a screenshot later, or people who like are watching right now?
I think I wanted to accurately reflect what the meta looks like, and I think having it without Dark Angels of some kind up here is just not an accurate reflection of what the meta.
That's fair, I guess. I will accept that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, sure, technically there's an army down here that nobody takes.
Yeah, everyone takes. That's fair. Okay, we can accept that. I'll accept that.
It's just a very good army. I think it's the best Marines. We thought it would be Deathwatch going in, and unfortunately Deathwatch was like, at ATC and WTC was like everyone's worst performing army. It was weird.
Oh yeah, ours was like bad.
It was not great. Yeah. And it was not just us, right? Like, going to ATC, it's not like Richard played it bad.
No, it just wasn't. The army is just not as strong as we thought it was.
No, it's not. Yeah. Dark Angel's stronger than we thought it was. Yeah. Honestly, Grey Knights performed better than our Dark Angels, than our Deathwatch. It was weird. I don't understand, but I kind of do.
Right. Drukhari. This is a faction that is much worse than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
They're like, someone asked me the other day, they were like, why are Drukhari bad? And I couldn't explain, like, these 4 things make Drukhari bad. The problem is that, like, it just doesn't do anything. Like, it sort of does. It's 40 Dark Lances the army. But, like, it feels like what you did was you cut out the Dark Lance bit, and then you glued it onto a 25mm base, and you played with that. And that's your army, right?
Your army are sentient Dark Lances.
It really is what you're playing with. Because I don't know how they did this, but Drukhari went from being, like, a terrifying combat army to, like, they're wearing pillows. Like, they left all their knives and claves and poisons at home, and they brought pillows instead, right?
Yeah.
Like, Witches and Incubi and Grotesques and Talos and Kronos and all the characters, they don't hit hard in combat.
At all. And there's no way to make them hit hard.
They just don't, and there's nothing you can do about it. They just do. Like, 5 Incubi, don't kill 5 Space Marines ever.
Yeah, no, they don't.
They just don't,
They just don't. Even with the reroll hits, right, they just win on 4s, you Armor of Contempt, you get a 4-up, bounce.
Who cares?
Yeah.
The Clavex went from being, 6 attacks at, 4-1-2 to 4 attacks at 3-1-1 or something.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah.
But and the thing is, you joke that it's 40 Dark Lances the army, but it really isn't. It's
it's 30,
and you have to bend over backwards and turn your army in half to get 30.
Because it's 30, but 15 of those are mounted on T3 5-up save infantry models.
Yep, they're fire and fade, but if your opponent has any indirect or ability to get to them, they're dead instantaneously.
Yeah, but a Havoc launcher kills an unfortunate amount every turn.
Yes.
And then, a bunch are on planes, which can't come in and then die immediately.
Yes.
The planes are not -1 to be hit. They don't have stealth.
You're looking to engineer the perfect scenario where you show up with all of your Dark Lances all at the same time and you shoot at your opponent's most valuable stuff all at the same time, and then it dies.
Yep.
And that is a fantastic math hammer way to play the game, and it doesn't actually work out. And the moment you lose any amount of units, suddenly you can't kill anything. Just unfortunate, really.
Yeah.
Ravager's legitimately very good, but it's the only unit I will say about that.
Ravagers are good. Lilith Hesperex is also quite good.
She is. Other than that,
Scourges are fine. They're much less good on the table than they are in paper.
True.
Yeah.
They also hit on 4s. Yeah. And you have pain tokens, so you can assume that everything rerolls to hit, but in reality, no, it doesn't.
You get like a lot, but not actually that many, because this list that we're talking about has like 25 activations. Like it's not actually 25. It's like 12.
It's like 12, and sure, most of that for the first turn or two will have pain tokens.
Yeah, and then you run out.
After that you run out, and once you get past a certain point, it's just not efficient to fire 3 Dark Lances with
also,
no rerolls.
like, if your opponent shows up with like 30 Barb Gaunts, you're like, this is an unsolvable problem for me.
Yeah.
Like,
I can kill 15 infantry models a turn.
Yep.
As long as I get to hit them every turn of the game with no counterpunch.
I think Drukhari are in C tier.
I think so. Yeah. They are not useless, which is what D tier is.
Yes. They're not good.
They're just not good. And they're going to be, like, teetering on the brink.
Yeah. They're not great. They're hanging on with their fingertips.
Yeah.
GSC.
Just reiterating for people in the chat, we will cover all super chats at the end. At the end. GSC is the other power army of the edition.
Yeah, they're very good.
If you want to compare them to other armies, you're going to be sad.
Yeah. It's the fact that, like, they do a lot of damage and they come back to life.
Yes.
We talked about Aeldari a lot, but basically you take a Primus, you stick it in a unit, that unit does way more damage than it should. Like, mathematically, it hits on, like, 1s or 2s.
It hits on 2s.
Yeah.
If you hit on 4... If you hit on 5s re-rolling, with exploding 6s, you functionally hit on 2s, mathematically wise. Yeah. If you hit on 4s re-rolling, you functionally auto-hit.
Yeah. They're, like, just nuts. So...
They hit way, way, way too hard.
And then the units come back automatically. In the official GWFAQ, they get their bombs back after they die. Like, it's just not... Like, just this... They show up 3 inches away. This faction just needs to change fundamentally. Its rules are bad. Like Aeldari, the rules are just bad. Go back.
Badly designed. They are too good.
They're too good. Sorry.
So let's go through very briefly why GSC is not okay.
Yeah.
So top to bottom, the first and most oppressive thing about the army is that when you kill them, they don't die.
They come back to life.
When you kill them, their units turn into a blip. Don't worry, it's on a 4-up, but they get +3 to the roll if they're using any of their good units. So
if you roll a 1 or higher on your D6, you get your unit back.
You get your battle line unit back in a blip. So you kill this 20-man unit that wasn't super expensive, you kill it, it turns into a blip. This blip they can place anywhere on the table, and they have ways to manipulate these blips once they're on the table.
They can move.
Your opponent has 1 turn to take a movement phase and move to within 9 of that blip to get rid of it.
Yep.
If they can move to within 9 of the blip, it goes away. But if you have a tape measure, and you know how far your opponent can move in their movement phase, you just keep the blip that far, 0.1 inches past that line. Oh, you can't get there? Sweet. End of your movement phase, the unit comes back. Mm-hmm. And they can do this with every unit, every turn, anytime you kill them.
As many times as they want. They come back 2 or 3 times. And then they're on the table in the corner, and then they immediately go back into reserves, and then they show up, and they shoot you, and they ignore cover, and they have exploding 6s. And
Yep. So that is the most annoying thing about the army, is that I have lost a game very badly to GSC in a game where I have most of my units left alive at the end of the game, and I've killed their army 3 times.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Okay? Like, that is not okay. Then they also do a ton of damage when they show up. They shoot you to death. Yep. Seismic cannons with rerolling to hit and exploding 6s and ignores cover hit very hard because Primuses join the unit, give it reroll hits, and then they just ignore cover and have exploding 6s the turn they show up.
Bomb squad.
Repeatedly.
It's like AP4.
It's AP2. Goes to AP3 if they spend a strat, but also that strat gives them +1 to wound, and also it applies to 2 units, and then they can double it up. So they can just do this with at least 3 units, depending on your reading, possibly 4.
I think it's +1 to hit for the...
Sorry, it's +1 to hit, +1 AP.
Yeah, +1 to wound is the strat. That's a different strat.
There's a separate strat for +1 to wound. My bad. So yes, they have +1 to hit, +1 AP as a strat that goes on 2 units, and then they can, or I think it's 1 unit, and then they can use a Nexos to make it a second one. Yeah. They also have an indirect platform where if it hits you with a bunch of shots, if it just hits you, you're +1 AP for the rest of the army, and then they reroll hits. So they hit you absurdly hard. A 10-man squad with demo charges just obliterates whatever it wants when it shows up 3 inches away and just goes beep, 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 and just detonates an entire unit of Terminators to death.
Also, like, Reductor Saboteurs are dumb, the Primus is dumb, the Nexos is dumb.
Yeah, they score points too well because they show up 3 inches away. They'll always have replenishing units because their units just come back. Yes. They're like, all right, it came back in the corner, goes back into reserves end of your turn, 2 units go into reserves, and then they show up 3 inches away from you, and they shoot you again, and then again, and then again. And if you leave stuff in reserves, they'll just 3-inch block the whole table with these 20-man units. They'll write their name in neophytes across the board. It's real gross. You have to get past the surviving their drop turn.
Yeah.
Not only that, but they have aberrants that hit really hard and are really durable, and that have a 12-inch no-shoot me strat. So you can't shoot them unless you're within 12, but they can infiltrate on your doorstep. Yeah. So the phases of the game into GSC is, first phase of the game is getting past, their army is not on the table yet, because a lot of it's in reserves. So they have aberrants to keep you from doing too much in that phase of the game, right? If you do too much, aberrants start in mid-board, just ready to rumble. So they try to keep you from playing the game for the first turn or so. Then turn 2, they show up and they table you.
Yep.
And that is as far as most games get against GSC. They just show up 3 inches away here, 3 inches away there, demo charge here, +1 to wound, +1 to hit, or +1 AP, +1 to hit strat, and you just lose your whole army.
Yep.
But let's say you have an army that is specifically designed to get past the drop turn, right? They show up, they shoot you, their army gets a lot worse. They only kill like half your army or whatever. Their army gets a lot worse once it hits the board.
Yes.
That's a fact. Now you only have to play into an army that is the best army in the game at scoring secondaries, bar none, period.
Yep.
So now that you've survived the drop turn with as much of your army as you have remaining, you now have to outscore the best scoring army in the game.
That's correct.
As they come back to life and move block you. I have had a GSC opponent take a 20-man neophyte squad and just ring my army 3 inches around, just to deny me a turn. Just be like, whoop, nope, sorry, I'm going to do my thing. 20 neophytes around you. Carry on.
It's really annoying, isn't it?
It's really annoying. Yeah. And you know what else? There's nothing you can do about it.
Really not. All right, that's GSC.
That's GSC.
Okay, let's take a minute. What do you think is better, GSC or Eldar?
Eldar.
I think it's just definitely Eldar.
I think it's Eldar, but they are very close.
Yeah, they're... If someone walked up to me and was like, Quinton, I have secrets from on high, GSC are better than Eldar, I'd be like, I could see it.
Yeah. Like, I could see GSC being better.
I think Eldar are better.
I think Eldar are better.
I think GSC are favored into Eldar.
Yes, but it is very volatile.
It is very volatile, yeah.
Yeah. But yes, I think GSC should beat Eldar if both players are of equal skill and know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But Eldar is just, like, generically more oppressive into the field.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. And, yeah, you can go Assassinate and deploy Teleport Homers against GSC, Matt. But that does make your score higher. But their score will still probably be higher than yours.
Mono Harlequins.
Not an army. Don't know how they snuck in here.
Can we talk about them?
No.
Okay.
They're sad. I have a Harlequins army that is going to become very dusty on the shelf, and I'm sad about it.
They would be in D tier.
They're not great. I mean, they still have Eldar rules, so don't joke yourself they'd be here, but
no, have you read the Harlequin data sheets?
Phantasm.
But the units don't do anything.
Fine. They can sit above...
They're better than Drukhari.
They can sit right above GK.
They're worse than that. Whatever.
They have better rules. We're not getting into Harlequins. They're not a real army.
Okay, Necrons.
All right, what do we got next?
This unit is less army. I still don't know how I feel about Necrons. I've played like an awkward number of games as and into Necrons. And, like, I just never know, like, what to do about them.
Yeah, like, there's no more oppressive army to play into when you can't deal with them.
But, like, the moment you can't... They're like the ultimate stat check, right?
If you can deal with them, the game is very easy.
Yeah, it's so easy.
But most armies can't.
Like, the first game I played in the Necrons, like, I felt like a robot whose, like, head exploded. I was like, what is happening? This can't be right. Like, rules are wrong. Necrons... top of S tier. And then I, like, played a second game into Necrons, and I was like,
was that the game?
It was the game where you had the Seraptic.
Yeah, the Seraptic.
And your Lich Guard killed all my Wraith Guard in one turn.
Yeah, somehow that happened. I still don't know. I think you just disrespected them.
I did. I ran straight into you.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know they did, right? Like, you were like, they come back a lot. And I was like, surely it can't be that much. And then I did some stuff and you were like, I'm actually playing Soulblight. And I was like, I see.
I did like that. In fact, I do want to put Soulblight back on the table again.
Yeah. I don't know. They're fine. The problem is that you can do with Necrons, or like you can get to support pieces early. Like if you kill their Reanimator in turn 1 or turn 2. Yeah.
Okay. People want to see where the pure Harlequins would land.
I would put them above Drukhari, below Blood Angels.
That can't possibly be right, but you're the expert.
I've actually put a lot of thought into this. The problem, here's the issue with pure Harlequins, right? Is that troops don't do damage, are OC1, do not advance in charge, so they don't do anything, right? So troops are garbage.
And they still have Phantasm and...
Yeah, but so it's... Phantasm is a stupid, dumb ability, but it's amplified on Eldar because they have a lot of high-value, expensive units, right? Like the Wraith Knight. It's much less impactful if you Phantasm, 5 troops, right?
Yeah. That's fair.
So the thing is, because what you end up is the issue is that your firepower is 3 Void Weavers. Those are great. We take them. Awesome. Then you take 3 squads of 4 of the Haywire Bikes, and you average 2 Rhinos a turn, and then they all die.
Okay, I can get behind that. So here's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Right? It's not that Grey Knights have great rules and no units.
Yeah.
It's just that if you want units that do anything to supplement the rules, you need to take 10-man Terminators.
Yes.
They don't have the option.
They just don't. The rules are good. The datasheets just don't do anything. Because basically they stayed the same. They just all lost to damage in combat, and they lost all their defensive stuff. So they're not -1 to be hit. They're not no rerolls. They have 4 Binvoln, but they're toughness 6, 4 Binvoln, 6-1 boats that just die, right?
Yeah.
So they just don't do anything is the issue.
Okay, I can get behind that.
Yeah.
I can get behind that. So back to Necrons.
Back to Necrons.
Yeah, there was that game where you YOLO swagged a unit right into 2 Lich Guard units that got to... Yeah. One got to Heroic for free, got fought by 2 of them on your turn.
Yes.
That one did not end well for you.
I also had, no Wraith Knight, no Prisms, no Night Spinners.
Does help.
Yes.
Yeah. But I don't think that game is representative.
No, I don't think so.
They're good.
They're good. I think they are better than Demons.
I think so.
I think they are worse than Knights in CSM.
So they're kind of like Knights in a way, right?
I think so.
Knights are very switch flippy.
Yeah. I think Knights and Necrons are in a very similar place.
I would probably say so.
Okay. Why don't we put them right above, right below Knights? They're like the same thing.
Yeah. They're a good army.
Yeah.
They struggle sometimes. Mm-hmm. So let's break it down. So Necrons are really, really, really good at just dying and coming back to life.
Yes.
As long as they don't lose the whole unit.
Yes. But
they have enough stacking buffs that it is legitimately very hard for almost every army to do that. Mm-hmm. Right? They have a couple weaknesses. One, if you are one of the armies that can actually remove a whole unit in a go,
the game is very bad for you.
Yeah, Necrons have a lot less of an answer to changing situations than other armies do.
I mean, they have a plan, and that's I'm going to move these Lich Guard bricks 5 inches at a time at you.
Yep.
And, I don't actually hit the hard when I get there.
People are taking Veil, which is pretty good at just getting a unit up table.
Yeah. But, you Veil it, right? Then you can just walk away. Necrons are the quintessential army of, oh no, I'm going to speed walk in the other direction.
Yeah. But if they get to live on all the objectives, you might have a bad time.
Mm-hmm.
They do have some mobile secondary scoring in the Catan is really good.
He is. Also things like Tomb Blades and Scarabs.
Yep. All very solid. Solo Destroyers are very good. They have good shooting. The Doomsday Arcs, the Canoptic Doomstalkers, all quite good, especially if you have Sovereign Coronal. Mm-hmm. Things like that. So they have decent shooting. They just don't have speed.
They just don't.
They don't have speed. And if you can crack the Lich Guard bricks, they have no other plan.
None.
Shoot
you 3 DDAs. But DDAs are the most slot machine unit in the game right now.
Yeah. Random number of shots, random,
At least they're not random damage anymore.
Yeah, that's good.
Do you remember they were D6 shots, D6 damage, and they were like 1 or 36? Let's go, baby.
It kind of feels like it now.
Yeah.
But you get to take multiple and they hit on 2s at least.
That is helpful. The random number of shots is the big thing.
Yeah.
And there's like no rerolls, so.
So if you can't deal with what they're doing, if you can't deal with what they're bringing to the table, they do broken stuff at you, for sure. You're going to be very mad the first time you get like a Lich Guard unit down to 3 models, and then it's back at 10 by the end of the game. Mm-hmm. You know, it gets back to life very fast. Warriors also come back to life obscenely fast.
Warriors are like, if you don't kill it in end activation, you can't kill the unit.
Yeah. 100%. Because they come back to life so fast. Mm-hmm. So fast. It's like 2d3 plus 3 or something, and they do that multiple times a turn.
3 turns at phase or something.
Yeah, they do it. They
like
can
the
do
Ghost
it.
Dark does it, the Strat does it, and they like something else does it.
Yeah, they can do it up to 5 times a turn.
Okay.
Once in the command phase with a Res Orb, twice in the shooting phase, twice in the fight phase with a Ghost Dark behind it.
Insane.
It is a lot, and they're OC3 with the dude standing near them. So if you can't deal with what they're bringing to the table, you're going to have some bad time. Mm-hmm. If you can, they're going to have a bad time because they don't really have much to say about it. In addition, they suffer from some armies being able to steal objectives out from under them.
Yes.
My Grey Knight army had some serious trouble killing Necrons. It could do it
slowly.
Eventually.
It's like 4 rounds of straight combat.
Yeah, it would take time. You could get through Lich Guard. And I did blast a 20 brick of warriors clean off the board with a squad of paladins going devastating wounds against Team Germany. So you can get through them, but that wasn't the plan.
No.
The plan was just to ram into them, steal objectives out from under them.
Yeah, Lich Guard are only OC1. That unit is like OC12 if every single model in the unit is standing on it.
14, yeah. It's that meant 5 of my Terminators stood on and took it.
Yeah.
Which, that's one thing, but GSC do that too. GSC are just like, hey,
it's also like
all my expendable models are OC2.
2 Chaos Knights.
2 Chaos Knights takes it away.
Or like a Big Knight.
A Big Knight is OC like 10, and if you're not your whole unit on it, it's just like mine. Custodes, if they don't kill the whole unit, they'll steal the objective.
Yep.
Same thing with like Black Templars with their Crusader squads. Will steal it out from under them. Things like that. So losing objectives out from under your units is a big deal for them. And they don't, again, have a lot of recourse for it. So they're broken when they're broken, but they have some problems, and they're not the best at compensating for it.
Agreed. Okay.
Orks.
Orks are weird.
Orks.
They have a lot of bad units. And some good ones, too.
They have a lot of bad units.
The truck
and some good units.
is hilarious.
It is. I love the trucks.
So funny.
I have 2 trucks right over there. I'm going to be building later today. Yeah, they are... Orks are very weird.
They really are.
They used to hit very hard and be very aggressive. And
now they don't.
Now they don't.
They don't. But you take 9 trucks.
But they're still fine. You take like 6 trucks, 3... I mean, like, our WTC list performed.
Really well.
Really well.
Shout out to Lucas Troller for that one.
Lucas Troller, what a lad.
What a hero.
What a hero. He had 6 trucks
3
and 3 big tracks.
All full of boys.
All full of dudes, right? 6 units of boys, 3 units of beast snag of boys, and then some trash on top. You don't get that much.
Yeah.
But it's just very hard to chew through. It scores points like a jerk.
Yep.
And anything that isn't actively very durable gets sandblasted by attacks off the board.
Yeah.
So if you're not a Terminator unit with Armor of Contempt, you die. Because you're just like, here's 40 saves.
GSC die at an astounding rate to Orc Boys. Orc Boys are like, I don't do damage. And then Neophytes are like, wait a minute, Strength 4, AP 1, that's terrifying. And Orcs are like, wait, I have 60 attacks in the unit.
And they're all in transports, so the GSC have to show up, blast transport, something they're not the best at.
Yeah.
And then Orcs spill out and kill them and push forward and corral them back. So those
also,
blips...
like, if a Bomba Squad shows up and kills a truck, the Orc player's like,
oh no.
Oh no! Anyway.
So what happens is, like, the GSC show up and kill, like, 4 trucks and 20 dudes, and then they get Zerg rushed off the board.
Yep.
Like...
by the other 6 trucks and 70 dudes.
Yeah. They don't even need to kill the GSC. The trucks can just ram into them and sit them there, just waiting for a Orc unit to get to them, get around to killing them. Now, GSC are still broken, so, like...
yeah.
Take that with a grain of salt, but Orcs are one of the GSC's natural predators, for sure.
Also, the Squig Bosses, Mazrog, and whatever the other guy are all very quick good.
Yes, they are.
-1 wound, toughness 10, 4 Beyond the Pain is, whoo boy.
It's very solid. The list I would take with Orks to an event, which I really do actually want to play Orks to an event. There's just, I haven't been to a singles event in 10th. So, limited opportunities. Yeah, right.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, limited opportunities to play armies. The list I would play right now, because I have a Thousand Suns commission with Kasra Hushadar, who is a gem. That one's not finished yet. So if I were to go to an event right now, I'd probably take Orks. They're quite solid. The list I would take would be, double Beast Boss on, be Mozrog and the Squig Boss, plus 10 Flash Kits, plus 50 Orc Boys, plus 18 Squig Hard Riders, and you just run people down.
That sounds good.
Yeah, plus 5 trucks.
Yeah.
It is quite solid.
Yeah.
I think Orcs are good. They're just, they have an AP1 problem in that they really don't get past there. Yeah. So you have to be okay with, if your opponent has a unit of Terminators with Armor of Contempt, you have to plan around it. You can't go through it.
Yeah, you have to flow like water.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. I think Orcs are better than Demons, worse than Knights and Necrons.
So do you think they wind up in solid tier, or do you think they wind up in good tier?
I think they're good. I think they are the last A-tier faction.
I can honestly get behind that.
Yeah.
I honestly get behind that. The problem with the Orc win rate is I think there's too many people who take Orcs, go WA, and then run right into their opponent.
Yep.
And just try to stat for stat them.
It's unfortunately not how it works.
Not how it works.
Orcs are a technical finesse army.
Yeah, you do run at people, but you don't just go, hey, Terminators, let's go fight them. If you do fight them, you have to fight them with specific units, at specific times, doing specific things, making use of tank shock and grenades. But the main thing is you have 1 million units that are all slightly harder to kill than they should be. You score points like a bastard, and you can kill anything that isn't actively tough at light speed.
Yep.
The things that are actively tough, you avoid, or you come up with a specific plan where 3 units dogpile it.
Orcs do also have an Eldar problem. But
they do.
Yeah.
They do. Orcs have a problem with any army that can just be like, you're dead, the whole army. I don't care how tough you are. So they have a crippling Custodes weakness. They are really bad into Eldar. That keeps them down quite a bit, honestly. But
honestly, I think Orcs should be in B tier just because they have a shocking weakness to the worst of the top armies.
Yeah, they're really bad into these two. They're really good into Necrons. I see someone say, play Orcs versus Necrons with Truck Rush, you can't kill 1 unit. Doesn't matter. That does not matter. You know what doesn't kill Orcs?
Necron Warriors in combat?
Necron Warriors getting jammed up with trucks, having to sit there while Orcs just take every objective out from under them for the entire game.
Yep.
And score every secondary point and kill anything that isn't named a Lychguard brick. It is rough.
You charge Lychguard brick with like 5 trucks. They're like, we're never getting out of here.
Yep. You just tie everything up with trucks while 80 infantry dudes just run around going ham on objectives. Mm-hmm. It is very funny. Also, they can kill Necron Warriors, because Necron Warriors are, I bet you can't force me to have 40 saves. Oh no! So, but I will say the crippling weakness to Custodes and Eldar probably does push them here.
Yeah.
Sad.
Orcs are an army that also is like totally fine. They just need the top end to get nerfed.
Yeah. Again, if this gets nerfed and this gets nerfed, the army is probably like here.
Yeah, I agree. Fully agree.
Yeah.
Okay. World Eaters. Big sad. Yeah.
They're not. They're like here.
Yeah.
They're the best of the worst, if you want to put it that way.
They're so overcosted.
Yeah.
They are a melee army that literally has no guns except for like storm bolters and the Lord of Skulls. The Lord of Skulls. 1 million points.
Angron, like Mortarion, is legitimately good.
Yes.
But he, like Mortarion, does not carry the army.
Nope.
Yes. And the rest of the army is actively bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yep. Not great. I mean, they're a combat army. They don't do damage. I mean, like they do, but they don't do that much.
They do legitimately hit hard. Like let's not sell them short on the things that they do. So I'm thinking specifically Angron and Terminators.
Okay, that's fair. That unit does, but like Berserkers and like 8-bound and all the like unique World Eaters units don't.
They don't. 8-bound hit hard. They don't hit 60 point a model hard.
No, they don't. They're also like not for the fact that they're like a Terminator with a 3-up save.
Yeah, they're less durable. I mean, they're toughness 6 Terminators with a 3-up save.
But I would take Toughness 5 over And a chip save any day.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're also significantly more expensive.
Yeah.
Terminators and Angron are good units in that book. They get really good rules. Mm-hmm. Everything else is just like actively terrible.
Yeah.
And that's kind of unfortunate.
Mm-hmm. I think they're better than Admech and Death Guard. I think they're near Mono Quins and Drukhari.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think they are legitimately... They do a thing, it's just
bad. They do bad at
so
it.
it's like Drukhari, right? They do a thing, it's just bad.
I think they're... Yeah, okay, cool.
If their win... I mean, there was a game, right, where I took World Eaters against Nick's Demons.
Yeah.
And I, like, tabled them in 2 turns. But that is the only way World Eaters win.
Yes. Is
you deploy in the line, you go first, you rush straight at your opponent... They don't kill you, right? So we're talking like not anything up in here. Mm-hmm. You rush your opponent, they don't kill you, and then you run them over. Yeah. And yeah, you will actually run them over if you get a chance to just post up in midboard and then table.
Yep.
Fine, sure, whatever. But that's just not... The game has to go exactly that way for you to win.
Yeah, the moment your opponent was like, wait, I have guns...
You lose a unit, and now your thing connects, but doesn't connect that hard. Now you lose another unit, and then they push back into you. And
it's not great.
It's not great.
Yeah.
But if you want to play World Eaters, taking a bunch of Terminators plus Angron is your best shot at doing it, and you... it's not terrible, right? It's not like down here where it doesn't do anything. You can win games with that.
Yeah, the DJ factions legitimately they just don't do anything.
Yeah, the D factions, bad at everything... Don't have rules.
Deathwatch.
Deathwatch.
Much worse than I thought.
Yeah.
You know, like I cannot tell you why this faction's not that great, but it's just fine.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, honestly, I think it just ends up right about there.
That's exactly where I was going to put it. Yep. It's totally fine.
Yeah.
Sisters of Battle.
So, Deathwatch have great rules, right? They teleport. They have great stratagems. They shoot pretty good. They teleport around. They're good. They just... I think the problem is that when you need to kill something, you commit a kill team, you commit a veteran unit to it. That's not quite enough. So you have to commit 2 veterans or 2 kill teams to it. Then you do kill it. Mm-hmm. But that's an overreaction. And then potentially you put yourself out of position. Deathwatch is hard to figure out. But I do think we did a good job at figuring it out.
Put an effort into it, right?
Put a lot of good work in and put it in some fantastic players' hands, and it underperformed.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to convince me that Richard played the army poorly.
Richard and Jaime
and Nas from the UK.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to convince me they all played it poorly. Mm-hmm. It just didn't perform very well.
Yeah.
I think it's just... Like, you're required to overreact anytime you want to kill something. You're required to... You can put a ton of damage into things, but you're required to do that in order to kill anything.
And if you survive the clapback...
And you lose units, then suddenly you're down. You don't have a great amount of push, like things to go onto objectives before your units teleport.
Yeah.
They're good. They're very solid. But we thought they were, like, here...
And they're not.
And they're just not.
No.
They're solid.
They're fine.
They're solid. They're very good.
Yeah.
All right, Sisters of Battle.
I think also in D tier, because the faction doesn't do a whole lot.
They do one thing.
Like, the one unit of Repentia is very... Or not Repentia, of Retributors.
Retributors.
Great.
If you stack 2 characters...
And a Triumph or whatever.
The Triumph is one of them, yeah. If you stack 2 characters, you stack the Triumph and you stack a Dialogus in an interaction that is almost certainly not intended.
Oh, yeah.
And you wait a couple turns... That unit can do really high damage.
Yeah, on turn 4, you're 18-inch moving, toughness 3.
You're 6-inch moving,
18-inch range. 18-inch range.
Yeah.
Dudes, they're...
They can do some damage at that point.
At that point, they can.
Yeah, they basically get to use as many fate dice, as many miracle dice as they want on one unit, and all of them are 6s.
Yeah.
That combo is legitimately very good. It takes some time to get there. Mm-hmm. But... Yeah, they're rough, man.
The problem is, like, they're really squishy and they don't do that much damage. Like, John was like, yeah, the Hunter-Killer Missile is the best damage-dealing weapon in the Codex.
So, the question is, do they wind up here or here? And I think they wind up as the best of the worst.
I think they're the best of the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Their army is just, it's the same way as like Admech and Death Guard. They just don't do anything. We have Repentia that have like no damage on their melee weapons. Yeah. You have shooting units that don't shoot. Have your units that aren't durable, but they're priced expensive.
Yeah, like, just not great.
Just not great. Mm-hmm. Just not great.
Okay. Space Wolves.
Space Wolves. I don't see a reason to run Space Wolves in a Gladius. I don't see a reason to take a Gladius and then go with Space Wolves.
There's not one. I mean, like, Thundercav are fine, but they are much, much worse than Deathwing Knights.
Yes.
And, like, Logan is fine, but he's much worse than Guilliman and the Lion. And if you want to take Ragnar, you can make a better generic captain than him by giving him the Honor Vehement and, like, the Power Fist. Like, the turn he goes in, he just slams.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's just... I don't know, there's nothing going for them. Like, all their unique units are kind of overcosted. Mm-hmm. They don't really do anything.
Yeah.
The Champions of Rust detachment is by far the worst of any of the Space Marine detachments.
It's honestly a joke, right? You look at Black Templars, and it's like, before the game, you pick one of these rules you want. And Space Wolves are like, all right, during the game,
if you complete one of these actually quite difficult challenges.
If it's a Wednesday, and your shirt is green, and you jump through 3 hoops, and stand on your head, and Saturn is ascendant in the night sky, you get a slightly worse rule than the Black Templars get.
Yep.
For free.
Because the issue is you only get 1 saga per turn, right? And you're definitely not getting any of them, like, turn 1 or turn 2. So, like, maybe you get one turn 3, but they're not, like, that easy to get, right? Your characters, like, just kind of die randomly.
You need your characters to do a very specific thing.
But also, a lot of them are, like, character model, right? Like, you need your Wolf Lord, not the unit he's in, to kill the Rhino or whatever to get, like, lethal hits.
So, he hits the Rhino with a force of 1,000 suns, but he specifically leaves it at 2, and the rest of his unit put it through the ground. Doesn't do anything.
Or, like, if you swing with the unit first...
and they
overkill it,
flip it on its head,
then you don't get the bonus. It's just not great. Like, Champions of Rust, also all the stratagems are just worse than the ones in Gladius.
Yes.
Yeah. The Space Wolves just need, really what it needs to be is, at the start of the game, pick 2 of these, then you get to do the other 2, right? And then all the strats need to be better.
Yeah, the strats also rely on having activated the... The
things. There's not an advancement charge in Space Wolves. There is, but you have to spend 2 CP for it, right? 1 to put you into a bad saga, and then 1 to use it.
Yeah.
It's not good.
It's not good.
Yeah, it's really not great.
They at least have units. Whereas these, definitely not better than
Yeah, they're better than Harlequins and Drukhari, but they are worse than all the other Space Marines.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, Tau.
I don't know how I feel about Tau. The Crisis unit with 6 Cyclic Ion, with all the Cyclic Ion Blasters, is good at killing any unit, including itself. As Tim Penny said, that unit really burns the candle from both ends.
It just wants death. Honestly, it's the most cornate unit possible. Kills your opponent, kills itself.
I watched Jaime's Tau opponent shoot it, kill an entire Deathwatch veteran kill team, and then lose 4 models.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the thing is, right, you don't overcharge every time. Every other overcharging gun, you just overcharge every single time you use it, and you take the risk.
Yeah.
With Tau, I think legitimately that unit does not overcharge every time.
No, it doesn't. I like Siegler's plan if you overcharge 6 of the guns. So 2 models overcharge.
And the rest
fire normally.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. So, the thing about Tau is they have a bunch of things going for them.
Yeah.
One is they hit very hard.
Yeah.
If the stars align.
If you let them.
Yeah, and there's some units you can't really stop. Like
Crisis suits.
An 18-inch moving Crisis unit is going to be doing a lot of the heavy lifting for that army.
Yeah.
They hit absurdly hard. Hard enough to just remove Custodes wholesale. Like, that unit hits very hard.
The average is that the Crisis suits kill 10 Custody Guard through, like, every defensive buff. It's insane.
Yep. Through -1 damage through the whole 9 yards. Yeah. In fact, most of the time, you don't even overcharge and you kill, like, 7 or something. Yeah. And it's gross. So, The Crisis unit moves very fast and hits very hard and isn't that expensive for what it does. Mm-hmm. It does kill itself, which is very funny, and we all appreciate it when it happens. But it kills you faster, and if you are good about not just overcharging every time to kill everything, you won't kill yourself until it's very important, and suddenly your opponent's key unit is in your crosshairs, and you kill it, and then you have a backup army, and you have three Crisis models left. You can also CP reroll the hazardous rolls, whatever. Cyclic Ion Blasters being hazardous is not going to take the army down a tier in my eyes.
Yeah.
So they hit very hard sometimes. And they also have the best lone ops in the entire game.
Oh, yeah. Ghost Steals are insane.
Yes.
So is Anval's weirdly so good.
Yes. Yeah. Ghost kills an Anva. Anva having -1 to hit, -1 to wound.
2-up invuln.
10 wounds in his unit, and a 2-up invuln once a game whenever he wants.
Directly into the opponent.
And he's a lone operative?
So funny.
What are we doing? He just plants on the center objective. He's like, yes, nothing will kill me, actually. Yeah. I'm 65 points. You can't shoot me from more than 12 inches away. And if you get within 12 inches, you still can't kill me, actually. Yep. So, yeah, their lone ops are great. Ghost Kills being lone operative is pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. The Tetra and the Piranha are also quite good.
Tetra and Piranha are pretty good.
But, like, a lot of the rail weapons are garbage.
There's a lot of units that are garbage.
Garbage. They're really just lacking that, like, high strength, high AP. And, like, you have your Crisis suits, but the rest of your army doesn't really do damage.
Yes. So with that in mind, I'm not really... Their army, by and large, is not good.
No.
But, like...
They have a few okay units.
You can make an army out of good units.
Yeah.
That's the thing, right?
Tower just weird. I'm going to put them, like, end of B tier, top of C tier in that era.
I feel like... Yeah, they have some things going for them. I don't know. I could see them being, like, up in this area.
That's kind of where I would put them. But, like, the very last of B tier, high C tier.
Right about here?
I think they're better than the bad Marine chapters. I think they're worse than, like, Guard and Chaos Knights.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
I think they belong about here. They have some things really going for them. Mm-hmm. They're lone ops, and they shoot very, very hard.
Yeah.
But you do kind of have to align the stars to get... Like, you have to support everything when you shoot. Otherwise, they don't do very much.
Yeah.
But they have some good units. They hit absurdly hard. Like, Custodes actually don't want any of that smoke.
No, they don't.
No, they are kind of a Custodes counter because they just dance around just lifting Custodes by the handful.
They also bounce clean off Eldar.
Well, Eldar bounce their head clean off the floor.
That's fair.
Like, Eldar just kill them. And then if the Tau, like, commit to see something, the Eldar are like, no, you didn't. Sorry, we're outie. So. Also,
2 CP Fire and Fade hurts for Tau because they don't have amazing CP regen outside of the Ethereal.
Yeah.
But, like, you don't want to take, like, the Fire Warriors because they're bad, so.
Yeah. Apparently, Tau have, like, the third worst win rate in the entire game, and I think there's a couple factors for that.
Yeah. I think Tau are a very, very popular faction.
They are. Apparently, they're, like, the most popular faction after
Marines.
Basic Marines.
Yeah. And I think that comes with a lot of new players, and new players are like, well, I'm going to run what I want to run. So I'm going to run my Riptide, my Storm Surgeon, 2 Hammerheads, and my Commander with 3 Crisis Suits that all have double Flamers and a Burst Cannon.
I cannot emphasize how much those units suck.
They're terrible.
If you don't take a finely tuned Tau list, your army is bad.
I feel like Tau were written by the same person as Death Guard and Admech. Tau just have a lot of units in the book, and therefore were able to happen to get some good stuff, right?
Yeah. If you don't take an army composed entirely of good things and you take some bad things in there, those bad things are very bad. Hammerheads actively don't do a single thing.
It's shocking how much nothing they do.
Yeah. So if you take them thinking they're your anti-tank, you're going to be brutally disappointed.
Yep.
They also have a strength issue, which keeps them down somewhat.
Yeah, there's like not a good high strength gun in that book.
No, there isn't.
It's just really not.
But you put out an insane volume of shots from the Crisis unit. So that's probably where I'd put like a finely tuned Tau list. But if you take, Tau is like represented by the largest swath of players outside of Marines. And if you have a very broad player base, you have a very broad player base of bad players, unfortunately. Or players who aren't good yet, or don't know what they're doing yet, or whatever.
Yep.
And if you make a list of Tau that looks fine and you don't intricately understand what you're doing with it, you will lose very badly.
Yes.
So that's why we put them here, but if you go off win rate, they're down here for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Thousand Sons.
I think they're quite good.
I think they're also quite good.
Especially the Euro stylists who we've been talking a lot about lately, that we flagrantly stole from Vic.
Haven't yet. I haven't played it yet, but our Build-A-List Thousand Sons may have been heavily inspired.
Yeah.
By Vic.
Hey, we changed an enhancement and 2 units.
Hell yeah, brother. It's a new list. Yeah, Vic and Arn from England and Germany definitely had some of that secret Thousand Sons sauce that I have not gotten a chance to play with yet. Very solid. Mm-hmm. The regular Thousand Sons that I was playing with 10 Terminators and Magnus and whatnot is good in singles. It's not that great in teams.
No.
You do a lot of damage, but there's some things about the team environment that means it's not that great. So we ended up cutting it. Thousand Sons are 1,000 Sons % in A tier.
Oh, 100%.
For sure. The question is where exactly?
I think they are better than Dark Angels, worse than Custodes.
I think that's where I was going to end up putting it. The MSU, 1,000,000 characters plus Magnus army, can do a truly ludicrous amount of very broken things.
Yes. The double move again. It's just like crazy. Yeah,
you can move, sight in a bombardment from all of your Psyker models, get to shoot indirect, and then they all shoot indirect at one thing, kill it, because you have 1,000,000 Psyker models, so you took like 7 characters. You have rhinos that your guys can start in and get out, and go and see things, and then all of your characters shoot really hard and have 1,000,000 rules to supplement them. Mm-hmm. And, it does a lot of broken stuff.
Yes.
Triple grenade strat, why not? Let's go.
Woo! The grenade strat's very good. If you can throw 2 or 3, it's nuts.
Yeah, and any unit can throw 3, for the record. Because you, 1 CP do it, and then you, no, you can only do, any unit can do 2. Yeah. Then you can do a third with a second unit. It's a lot of utility, and it's a very hard army to play, but the power level is off the charts. Yes. It's very good. It definitely belongs here.
Okay. Tyranids.
And again, before we get right into the end of this, we will get through all of the super chats at the end of this video. Tyranids. Much better than I thought they were going to be.
Really quite good.
Yeah.
Zoanthropes and Biovores in particular are great.
Yes. Zoanthropes are 30 points a model for toughness 5, I think.
Yeah, they're like toughness 5, 4 up involved, you can keep a 5 if you want to pay. And they're just like so annoying to kill.
For 30 points a model, you can just take a swarm of 18 for 400.
I don't know why you wouldn't take 18.
There's other good stuff to take in the Codex.
You can also go super wide and take like 200 bodies.
I think Australia ended up doing that.
Yeah.
That's a good list too. Biovores are a big part of the army.
Yes, they're huge. I mean, your secondaries are free.
Yep, your secondaries are free because Biovores can do secondaries. So you take fixed secondaries. You do like deploy teleport armors behind enemy lines. And you just go bink bink, score your points. Bink bink, score your points. Bink bink, score your points. And that is really good when the rest of the army is quite solid on top of that. A bunch of swarmy options that are decent. Probably not how I'd end up running them. Zoanthropes are pretty ridiculous. Pyrovores are pretty ridiculous. Barbgaunts are insane at 10 points a model. And then the big bugs are also very good. Tyrannifexes shoot pretty decent. Very hard to kill. Tyrants give out free strats every turn to a unit within 12.
Yep.
Maleceptors are very tough to kill. And Exocrines are very tough. Both of them shoot quite hard. And if you take a bunch of them, you shoot very hard. So, and you have some great lone ops. And you deny secondaries very well. You don't deny Bring It Down if you take the big bug version, but you do deny Assassinate because you don't have very many characters. So it's a very good army. I think it definitely belongs up here in A tier somewhere.
Oh yeah. I think it's better than Necrons, worse than CSM.
That's where I was going to say. Yeah. I believe in it more than I believe in
I truly believe in nits.
Yeah. I think they're very good. England and us both had them. It was our highest scoring list.
It was, yeah.
Yeah. Sean was on a tear.
Sean is like 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 0.
Yeah. He did take the Eldar matchup in the last round. Thank you.
Yeah.
We love you.
He jumped on that triple grenade strat.
It has a good GSC matchup. It has a very bad Eldar matchup.
Shockingly.
That's rough.
But it can beat anything else.
Yep. Something you'll notice, actually, is that a lot of these armies have a good matchup into one of the two,
and a terrible
matchup into the other.
Yep.
Can Flay Eldar. Does not like GSC, I think.
Yeah.
It's the same thing all the way down.
Leagues of Votann.
The
Dwarves, the last.
D tier's looking awful sparse, actually. I think.
Yeah, I think they are better than Death Guard.
I think they're better than Admech too.
I think so. 30 Hearthguard is actually quite okay.
Yeah, you have to side into one specific unit.
Yeah, but at least they have a unit.
At least they have a unit.
At least they have a unit. Like, that army, like, works, sorta. Like, I've been impressed when I played it with Chex Notes, Death Guard, and Space Wolves.
And otherwise
not.
It's been bad,
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. They have the exact same issue that Admech and Death Guard have, is that they're like a not durable, slow army that doesn't really do damage.
Yeah, it feels like these armies were all designed together, potentially with Space Wolves in the mix, and then some of these.
Yeah.
Because they don't have rules.
Yep.
And they barely have units. And the barely is doing a lot of work here, because if they didn't have Hearthguard, they would be down here-ish. Instead, they are all the way at the exalted heights of just barely above them.
Yep.
Unfortunately, they have a very low model range, and not really any of them are very good. And then they don't have rules. I know it looks like they do. Trust me, they
really
don't.
just don't.
They really just don't have rules.
They have like 77 instances of +1 to hit, and none of them's deck.
And their army went from hitting on 3s to hitting on 4s.
Yes.
So you can reclaim your former glory if you jump through some hoops.
Yep.
And by reclaim your former glory, I mean just hit on 3s.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Not auto wound, not do any of that stuff, just like hit on 3s. The units are not cheap. So
they die immediately.
They die immediately, and you wind up being like, well, if my opponent tables me, I'll finally get to hit on 3s again.
Yep.
Because they'll have grudge tokens.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Richard's plan is like, I'm going to take expendable units and force them to die by charging my opponent.
With garbage.
And then so I can shoot them to death with my Hearthguard.
It's a strong plan.
It sure is. But also, like, even Hearthguard are 2 wounds with no mortal wound protection.
Yeah. There are some things where they just disintegrate.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're just better than the rest of Votann, so they look good.
Yep.
Until you play other armies.
Sure, yeah.
Once you play up here, you're going to be sad.
Very sad. All right.
You know, I'm going to propose one swap before we finish this up. I'm going to propose swapping Black Templars and Tau.
Oh, I can get behind that. I think Templars better than Tau.
Tau legitimately are better than their win rate, but let's not go insane.
No, they're not.
And I think Black Templars don't belong down here. I think their unit, they have some good stuff in their army. Specifically, the Terminator unit with 5 of Philippine is very good.
Yeah.
I feel pretty good about this. How do you feel?
This is pretty similar to what I was thinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing. I think everything kind of falls about where it should.
Everything falls about where it should.
I think one thing we should also probably note is that I feel like this is like should be stretched out more, right? Because like the difference between Eldar and GSC and like Custodes is much bigger than the gap between like Custodes and T-Suns.
Yeah, or the difference between Imperial Knights and Orks is very close.
Yeah.
But the difference between these two at the top and the rest of the game is huge.
It's huge.
Yeah, for
there
sure.
really should be like an S++ tier, and then like 2 tiers of emptiness, and then like, but whatever. Like, yeah.
So let's go over what's where. So we've got Eldar and GSC in the oh my god, what the hell is this tier?
Yep.
We've got Custodes, Thousand Sons, Dark Angels running a Gladius.
Yep.
CSM, Tyranids, Necrons, and Imperial Knights
in
A, which is very good.
A tier armies are probably too good.
A tier armies are good. I think this A to B tier is where you want your army to be.
Yeah.
B tier armies are solid.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with them. They're good. They're solid. No problems. No complaints. C is where the armies have some problems.
Some fundamental problems.
Some problems, but you can muscle your way through it, grin and bear it. Yep. And then D is
garbage.
Garbage.
You need like a full book rewrite.
They don't have rules. They don't have units. It's just not great.
Yeah.
So we've got S with Eldar and GSC. We've got Custodes, Thousand Sons, Dark Angels running a Gladius, CSM, Tyranids, Necrons, and Imperial Knights in A tier. B tier, we have Orks, Chaos Demons, regular
generic Space
Marines, probably Ultramarines with Guilliman, then Deathwatch, then Grey Knights, then Imperial Guard, Chaos Knights, and Black Templars. Then we've got Tau, Blood Angels, Space Wolves, Pure Harlequins, God bless them, Dark Eldar, and World Eaters in C tier, and then in D tier we've got Sisters, we've got Votann, Admech, and Death Guard. Yeah, that's the meta, and I don't think it's necessarily like in previous ones B is bad. That's not how it is here. I think B is solid. Fine.
I think at this meta it's very top lopsided. Like I feel like if every faction got smushed down into B tier, we'd be happy.
Yeah, I think B is where we want a lot of armies to be. I mean, some of them can use improvements, right? Like Grey Knights realistically could use some improvements. I think Imperial Guard
need to just be something else.
Need to change.
Yeah.
But the rest of them are totally fine. This one was surprising, the Deathwatch being worse than generic Gladius plus Ultramarines.
We, really tried that. We put a lot of effort in Deathwatch, and it just always disappointed us.
Yeah, it wasn't, a bad army, but it was our worst WTC and ATC army. It was
by a mile.
It was also, the worst army for Team England as well.
Yep.
And Poland and Germany, I want to say, took
Dark Angels.
Took Dark Angels and did very well with it. Yeah. So I think this was surprising. The Deathwatch being worse than we thought. Grey Knights, I will stand by. Are if you really know what you're doing, you can hit 50% win rate with them into good players. I'm not saying they're broken or nothing, but you can hit 50%.
Yeah.
Orks, you have to play smart. You can't just play big and dumb, but you can do some really good things with Orks. Overall, I think I'm pretty happy with where everything is ranked.
We have a whole lot of super chats. You want to go ahead and hit those?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So you think you have to? We got. If you go to Top Chat, just in the top up there.
Oh yes.
Yep.
Yes.
And then fan funding. Yep. It should just be everything.
There we go. All right. So we've got just welcoming a bunch of people to the War Room. We've got Tigerfan 6317. Thank you so much. Steve Hauser, Tiago Lopez or Lopes.
Ben McJurek.
Ben McJurek, welcome to the War Room Bronze. Stephen Unger, welcome to the War Room Bronze. Michael Jennings, Roman, Jack Shelby, fellow Jack after my own heart.
Thank you for War Room Gold.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
We've got Zlack Onion with a... first off, get back again to John McCardell and his...
I get to eat this month.
Hell yeah, buddy. So proud of you. Yeah, we love having Quinton here, and if he starved to death, that would be sad, so thank you so much, John McCardell. We've got Zlack Onion with a $5 super chat. I saw an Imperial Guard army with no indirect on stream for War Games Live at Salt Lake Open. That was 4-1. Is there a real possibility there?
I mean, I'm sure you can do that. I'm sure it's probably fine, but I think it is just objectively worse than the indirect version.
So, yeah, I would agree. I think that you can do it, and it works all right. They do have legitimately good, straight-up firepower that can just shoot you. It's fine. But that, coupled without the ability to push into your opponent with units, means that your opponent is going to have an opportunity, if they take it, to outscore you.
Agreed.
Whereas indirect doesn't care about what your opponent is trying to do. It just shoots them. And since Guard have strong enough indirect to kill you outside of line of sight, if you're not leaning into that, it's probably not as optimal. Now, there is room for a 50-50 build that I think is quite good, where you take, 5 indirect platforms and some shooting, and then you can do some good work.
Fun stuff?
Because you can kill stuff, but then also if they pop out into the open, you have enough firepower to fish in a barrel them.
Yes.
So I think that can work, but I don't think no indirect is the way.
No, I agree.
Zinth25, $10 super chat. Quinton can't rely on just John McCardell. You guys need to feed the elf player. Put this towards his party for when the balance slate fails to knock Eldar below 60% win rate. I'm already ready, baby.
Oh, it's going to be a great party.
That's
we need to have,
you.
The saddest birthday party ever for, Dude. Yeah. Okay.
Just one.
Dude. I need to get the Eldar Guild box back out.
Yeah. Yeah. The problem with Eldar is it's such a deep codex.
It's so deep, yeah.
That you're going to have a problem knocking it below 60% without swinging and hitting a lot of different things.
Yeah. Most of the book.
Yeah.
Okay. Absolutely wasted Lord Solar, $10 super chat. I never looked, but what ended up being the top army at WTC? Was it Guard? What's up? Enjoying needing line of sight, nerds. Oh man, I just threw up on a mortar. Gotta change my life. I love the absolutely wasted Lord Solar.
Get help, Lord Solar.
I think the answer is obvious.
It's Eldar.
It's Eldar.
There's Eldar and GSC
in every conceivable metric.
Yeah.
Actually, not GSC. GSC got, like, dumpstered at WTC.
Against us. We never gave GSC a win. Booyah. That was a huge accomplishment that we did build our team around.
7-1.
Yep. We did build our team specifically to trap and counter GSC. But most of the armies on our team did not want to play it.
Quinton, what is the max point you pay for a Wraith Knight, assuming only points were adjusted? 670 points. Well, I take one at 669 because it's funny, but like 650 is like my real answer, so 670 is funny.
650 is the highest you would pay?
So 650 is what I would pay, like, legitimately. If it's in the 500s, I'd, like, consider it and see what the rest of the meta shakes out to be. But, like, if only the Wraith Knight gets changed, I'm like, cool, this Fire Prism goes away and the Wraith Knight stays in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 669.
Yeah,
what about 690?
I wouldn't pay over 670.
So yeah, I would say that's probably right. Yeah, 650 is a good.
About where I'd
good number. Yeah.
Because at that point, it's such a substantial portion of your list, and like the Wraith Knight doesn't like turbo with often, but I have had it happen where like you fail a guide and just roll all 1s and 2s, but whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't happen often. You just
or
run
like
out of other stuff.
That's the thing. It's the point where the Wraith Knight just has to carry your entire army. And, like, the Wraith Knight doesn't actually cost what he costs. He costs that plus, 75 or 60. Because you're going to take a Farseer or both. Yeah.
Yeah, plus the enhancement to make your Farseer not auto-die and stuff like that. Yeah. I mean, I would agree with that, for sure.
Like, 650 in that ballpark.
Which is kind of ridiculous that you would actually pay 650, but it's 100% true.
Like if he was 550, I'd still pay that.
This guy used to be 370.
Why?
All right, Hytorian, 10-pound super chat. Some changes I think would help Marines, +1 OC across the board. Some changes to help the game. Indirect hit on 5s. Dev wounds are +1 AP and double damage. No mortal wounds, then rebalance from there.
I don't think double damage is what you want.
No, that...
I think like +1 damage maybe. Because double damage is like my Wraith Cannon does 37 damage or whatever. Yeah. I think mortal wounds. Someone made a really good. A lot of people said this is that you make dev wounds not splash, right? Like basically, if you just say that a dev wound, if you roll a 6, is no saves of any kind allowed.
Yeah, I mean that. I think dev wounds, whatever you do with them, they're going to be like a little too wonky. There's a number of ways to tune them down. +1 AP would be good, just rending like that, just +1 AP or +2 AP or something.
So that works really well on something like an Assault Cannon, but less so on something like a Forge Fiend, but also like screw the Forge Fiend and the Wraith Knight, so who cares?
There's something I've seen is take one of the points of damage and make it immortal.
I think that works quite well.
That works quite well. I saw that. That's probably the one I like the best. Mm-hmm. The problem is it's not going... Devastating Wounds was a solution to making big... high damage shots that splashed, or
like an assault cannon.
Like an assault cannon that's looking to fish and roll and get
I think
sixes.
Dev Wounds is fine on like an assault cannon or an onslaught Gatling cannon. I think it's much less fine on like a las cannon.
But like it's fine on those for now. But like oftentimes what did the damage in the Deathwatch kill teams was re-rolling hit and wound 3 assault cannons in the unit.
That's fair.
And now Deathwatch wound up in B tier, whatever. But that interaction is just ripe to become broken at some point, where you just roll a million dice and re-roll your wounds and fish for 6s. I really don't know what the answer is, to be honest with you. Indirect need at minimum to go back to what they were in 9th. -1 to hit, or -1 ballistic skill, not to hit. Mm-hmm. And then +1 save, not cover, because both of those are ignored by way too many units.
And also the fact that like cover is given to every unit all the time anyway, so it doesn't actually do anything. It's just -1 to hit. Yeah,
+1 save. I mean, the rules of the game give you cover from indirect anyway. You don't need to have it as part of the indirect penalty because they can't see you.
The only time it matters is if you are blocked by another unit. If you're hiding behind a rhino, then you get cover.
And no part of your target unit is behind terrain at any point.
That is, and you're not. So if you can draw a straight line and you can see them other than an enemy unit, it's the only time the cover clause comes up.
Yeah, they need to do something. -1 ballistic skill minimum, and also no rerolls would be hot.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Indirect just hit too hard.
They just do. You know, I had 2 Night Spinners kill like an Armiger.
Mm-hmm. I've had 16 mortals from 2 Night Spinners shooting one time.
Yeah.
It happens.
It does.
So they need to do something about indirect, and they need to do something about devastating wounds.
Yeah.
Just, they need to. Hopefully they will. Mm-hmm. I don't know what to say.
Matthew Bunting. Hi, Mayhew.
$5 super chat. Honestly, it is just easier to consider the detachment as the factions.
It works most of the time. The only issue is for Space Marines. Like, Space Wolves Gladius and Dark Angels Gladius and Ultramarines Gladius are very different things.
Yeah. I mean, if we take an army that doesn't exist, which is the Dark Angels running the Dark Angel detachment.
It's bad.
It's bad, but nobody does that. Everyone runs Dark Angel units with the Gladius, and then it's the best Space Marines in the game. So we're just going to rank that way. So that you get a picture. The Dark Angels plus Gladius, very good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Who cares about the rest of that?
Pandemic Painting, rocking a 2x Despoiler, both with 2x Battle Cannon, 1 Rampager, and 4 Havoc Brighams, leaning into shooting data sheets to make up for army rules. Thoughts? Yeah, I mean, that's what you have to do, right? Chaos Knights are a data sheet army, not a rule army.
Yeah. I personally like the 13 War Dog list.
I think of that a lot, yeah.
If you disrespect that list, you will get run over.
The Battle Cannons are awesome, and then you realize they're like AP1 and everyone else cover, and then...
You still put out a lot of shots. Yeah. It's a ridiculous amount of shots. It's... What is it? It's 2d6 plus 6 plus blast each.
Yeah.
That's a lot of shots. Mm-hmm. That just feels like bad Imperial Knights. I think you need to lean into what Chaos Knights do, which is have
little boys.
Much better armigers than Imperial Knights.
Yes.
Macelia Delt. Is Tau not garbage if GW upped all their battlesuit weapons by +2 strength?
That would help. The issue is that Sibs are just way better. And that you just need, like, different... Like, the Tau book needs, like, a lot of stuff changed.
Yeah. Tau book... I don't think they need to change the battlesuit weapons. I think they just need to change a lot of other stuff. Mm-hmm. I think the battlesuits are carrying the book, honestly.
Yeah, I agree.
Matthew, again, another $5 super chat.
What's up, Mayhew?
I'll actually put those towards Quinton...
Quinton Eating?
Quinton Eating as well. What are your top 5 indexes you would like to see rewritten completely? Also, has Art of War prepared emotionally for their future ATC loss to TLM? I don't think I'll ever be prepared for that.
If that happens,
I would be sad forever.
Yeah. Top 5 indexes: Eldar GSC, Death Guard, AdMech, Leagues of Votann.
Yeah. I mean, Eldar GSC need to be rewritten, so it's a top 3.
Oh, actually.
Dark Eldar.
Dark Eldar desperately needs. That book needs fundamentally be rewritten.
Yeah, that book is just
like that book needs sad. Like a detachment that is like all of your melee units get +1 to hit, +1 to wound, +1 damage, +1 AP, +1 strength. Something crazy.
If we leave out Eldar and GSC that need to get hit with the biggest nerf bat of all time.
Yeah.
If we look at armies that just are non-functional, Space Wolves.
Yeah. Drukhari.
And then everything down in D
tier.
Sorry, I'm pointing at the the tier list like you guys can still see it. Okay. Drukhari, Space Wolves are non-functional.
And then the whole bottom.
And then the whole D tier.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there's a lot of books that need a fundamental rewrite.
Yeah. It's just Space Wolves still have Space Marine data sheets, so they still get to be in C tier while being non-functional.
Yep.
And Drukhari get to at least move quickly.
Mm-hmm. And like you have lances, but like whatever. Yeah. They don't really do anything.
Yeah. All right. Freestyler.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. €5 super chat. Big thanks for ranking Harlequins since no lists exist without Aeldari units.
Yeah, they're sad.
They're sad. I have a Harlequin army. I want to play Harlequins. I do not want to play Eldar.
I need to put Harlequins on the... I really hope whenever the Eldar book comes out, we get a Harlequin specific detachment.
That would be sweet.
Yeah.
That would be so cool. I'm mad.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Sister's army might be meh and a solidly sweaty 3 and 2 at a GT level, but at least Paragon Warsuits can finally see the field. Looking forward to not being quite bad enough to help in September. I think they're going to get some help. I think they're quite bad.
Again, well, not again, but we don't know.
Oh, I have no clue.
We have no clue what's coming out.
I just know that, like, I personally think Sisters are bad.
If an army's getting help, you would assume Sisters would be on it. Yeah. And also, if you are good at 40k, you can go positive with any army on here. No joke. Mm-hmm. You're not going to win an event with Death Guard.
You're right.
But you can go positive with Death Guard if you really know what you're doing. And I believe that.
I think it was Aiden Smalley went 5-0. with Death Guard.
Last edition.
No.
This edition. That's right at the start.
It was right at the start. It was
right at the start.
Like day one. Yeah.
Like, if you really know what you're doing, basic 40k fundamentals will help you out with... You will be able to go positive at a GT, like if it's a 7-rounder, so the positive is a 4 and 3 instead of having it be 4 and 2.
Yeah.
That would be tough with any army here. But that's mostly by avoiding players who are as good as you are.
Yes. And avoiding factions that are better than you.
Yeah. You have to avoid both Eldar and GSC.
If you take like a loss early and then you live in the like CD tier range, you're like probably pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. But yeah, any army on here is the sweaty 3-2 to GT level.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Mike Percival, on the topic of secret sauce, have you experienced Dread Heavy Templars? 6 plus Feel No Pain Redemptor spam does mad work. That sounds really obnoxious to deal with. Spoilers for the game, but Nick had insane trouble killing my Ballistus Dread. Redemptors are a Ballistus Dread on crack, in that they are -1 damage. I do want to try that, actually.
Yeah, that sounds
I do want to try that quite a bit.
Okay. John Apocalypse. What can be done to make Tau better? Higher strength on guns, make Calyon start on turn 2, have the railgun ignore invuln, want more cheaper units. I think that all of the dudes on foot need to do something better. Crisis suits need more variety on their weapon choices. The Hammerhead railgun needs to ignore invulns or be like 3 shots or something. A 1-shot gun that doesn't ignore invulns is hilariously awful.
Yes.
The strats need to be better. All of the Tau strats are garbage, except for Fire Invade. It's the only relevant one. And yeah, Calyon needs to start earlier, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of those changes would be pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't think they need buffs on anything that is currently good in the army, but I do think the rest of the army needs to be
change around
moved up.
I just want more variety in what I can take, right? This is the second Tau Codex in a row that I'm like, I guess I'm going to take 18 Crisis suits.
Whee! All right. Red Rum, €5 super chat. Jack, what works better, MSU Custodes or Bricks? Does it depend on terrain? It seems like where the WTC GW terrain is played, Custodes can beat Eldar. Yes, they can. I think you want Bricks. Yep. You want like 4 probably big units of Wardens, Terminators, Guard with characters doing character stuff. And then you want a little bit of support around the edges. That's your list.
Yep.
It is pretty damn good. It's also solid. Fun to play.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I would probably go with. Matthew Bunting again.
Look at me.
Looks like Quinton might get to drink something other than water.
Water, yeah. Water from the hose outside.
Put Custodes in A to make a curve, you cowards. Custodes is an A. It's right here.
He said in chat he meant S tier.
Oh.
But yeah.
Yeah. No, it's not happening.
No, they're an A tier army.
That would undermine our point way too much.
Yeah. Antonio Smith, how would you fix Admech? Hit on 3s and points drops and also make their guns better.
Yeah. I would rewrite the book, honestly. Yeah. It just doesn't do anything.
The problem is Admech don't need points drops. What they need is to be 20% better doing damage.
Yeah.
Right?
And points drops.
What I'm saying, like, the amount of Admech on the table feel correct, right? The problem is a lot of these D-tier factions, to the point where the points are fair and they become balanced armies, means that you're like, I'm going to run 600 Plague Marines. Go!
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like, we had this discussion the other day, and I was like, would 2-point Plague Marines fix Death Guard?
Yes, they would.
Probably, yeah.
They just wouldn't be,
but it'd be dumb,
an army
right?
anyone wants to see.
Yeah, because you pay 120 points and you get 60 Plague Marines.
Yeah, that would absolutely fix Death Guard.
They would become a whole lot.
They would become very good.
Yeah.
They would probably end up like A or S tier if you had a 2-point Plague Marine.
Probably, yeah.
But nobody wants to see that.
Yeah.
That's what it would take to get them up to A.
Yeah.
But
that's ludicrous, right? Like, the issue is the Plague Marines need a much better data sheet.
It would put them up to S. Like, if you had 5-point Plague Marines, you'd see them in A tier.
Yeah,
for sure.
You still take 60, but yeah.
Yeah, you take 60, it's like 300 points at that point.
Yeah.
Then you have a bunch of other stuff. But nobody wants to see that. So you need to fix the rules. You can't just fix the points.
Yes. George Hutley, I am surprised by Deathwatch. Were you playing with Desolation Marine? Special issue ammo Castellan is gross. Winning on 2s or 6 pushing streaks.
Yep, we were playing with all that. Yeah. Playing with Plunging Fire, playing with Deso Marines on the top of WTC Ruins, getting Plunging Fire, getting Teleporting with all the special issue ammunition, the whole 9 yards. Yep. Doing all of that.
It also wasn't just us. This was like a lot of the top teams were like, yeah, we were disappointed by Deathwatch.
Yeah, some teams cut it and played Dark Angels, which ended up doing better,
Yep.
and some teams kept it, and it was one of their lower performing armies at ATC and WTC, not just for us. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of wild.
They were an army that, like, I think we had ranked as, like, a top of A tier. Or
yeah, we did.
S tier, yeah.
I think they're solid. Yeah. I don't think they're, like, bad or anything.
No, they're just fine.
They're fine. They're good.
Yeah.
They're not broken. They're not bad. Mm-hmm. They're just fine, which I was surprised by.
Yeah. Newer player with only town models can work on developing skills even in this meta. What tier level army is best for personal growth? Not easy wins, but not futile exercise.
That's Bob Woodhouse, a $10 super chat.
Yeah. Do you mean playing against or playing with? I mean, like, I think honestly play against anything that's not GSC and Eldar, and you should have a game, right? I think artificially limiting what you can play, aside from, like, truly ludicrous stuff, is probably not the best spot. Like, if you're starting out, I assume you're playing against people who are also starting out, and at that point, your moves on the tabletop and your fundamentals matter a lot more than the army you're playing.
Yeah, if you're talking about what army you would be playing with, I think that's a more interesting argument of like what army, if you play with them, do you get better the quickest?
Basic Marines.
So like the hardest armies to play, right? I think are Thousand Sons, Grey Knights. Those are probably like the two hardest armies to play. Maybe Orks are actually surprisingly difficult to not just get tabled with. Mm-hmm. But the problem is they play so different to a lot of other stuff that you're not building transferable skills as much.
I think basic Marines, because they don't do anything super out of the box, but they also don't, like if you play Eldar, right, like, you'll feel very good, but you're going to be crutching on Eldar, and then when, the army becomes regular, you're going to realize you didn't build the, like, skills you needed to.
I'm sure that'll be any day now.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I would say basic Marines, because they always are going to be fine.
Yeah, some flavor of Marines. Dark Angels would be pretty good. Deathwatch would be pretty good for learning. Templars probably, they would be. Blood Angels, yeah, basic Marines, I think.
Yeah,
they kind of do everything. They rely somewhat on mobility, somewhat on, shooting, somewhat on combat. They kind of do everything, so you need to be proficient kind of everywhere. All right. Matt O, $5 super chat. Melee armies are not great, but how do you prevent Custodes from just auto-countering all of them?
Charge them on not the objective, use complicated war room tricks, or just, like, change the Custodes books. They don't auto-win every melee matchup.
Yeah, I honestly changed the fight first strat to once a game, and I think you're
or just change fight first back to how it used to be.
Yeah, the fight first strat I think is like fine, but it's the fact that you can hammer that button every
10 times. Yeah, you can be like, these two 20-man bricks on objective both fight first.
Well, that doesn't quite work because one fights first, and then you pass fight first priority back to your opponent.
Yeah,
but it's the fact that every turn of the game you're just like, I will kill you first.
Yeah.
I think changing that definitely helps. And then maybe if melee armies did any appreciable damage at all, that would also help.
It's amazing how little damage melee armies do.
Yeah. Shooting armies hit harder and shoot.
And are deliverable.
It shouldn't work like that.
It really shouldn't.
Yeah, I think that's mostly what it is. Yep. I think the fight first strat just needs to be like once a game. Because then if you run face first into it, it hurts. But then the following turn, you actually can...
I think there are a lot of stratagems that need to go to once a game.
Yeah.
I think Phantasm, 3-inch Deep Strike, Fight First, all that needs to go to once a game.
I do think the 3-inch Deep Strike factions are like built around having 3-inch Deep Strike, fair. And if you take that away from the armies that have it, specifically,
well, I think it's fine for
Grey
demons.
Knights, they like fall apart.
It's fine for demons and Grey Knights. I mean specifically GSC.
Oh yeah,
specifically
GSC.
Or change one with the darkness. What's the no shoot me told me about?
The no shoot me, yeah. There are some stratagems you need to go. I think the fright first should just be once a game.
Yeah.
Tom Weston. Pleasure playing and meeting you guys at WTC. We certainly learned a lot. Game 1 against USA.
This is one of the Cyprus guys.
This is one of the Cyprus guys. Happy to be home and already practicing for next year.
Man, I have a Cyprus jersey. It's really cool.
Me too.
Those guys are so nice.
Yeah, Cyprus was great.
Some of the nicest people I met.
Yeah, they were awesome.
They were amazing.
So, great round 1. It was great to meet you guys, and we'll see you again next year.
Yeah.
I'm sure the practice will pay off.
I know.
All right, that is it for Super Chats.
Yep.
For today.
Yep.
And I think that's it here. This is our tier list for the current meta. If there's any changes, then this will obviously change.
Yep.
But looking back on where the meta was, I think this is what we think that the tier list is.
I really want to see how it compares to our old one. I want to go after this video. I'm going to pull up the old one and look at it.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
And everyone's tier list is slightly different.
Yep.
Everyone's based off their own personal
Opinions.
experience and opinions. We like to think that we have a lot of testing and a lot of analysis done by the entire Team USA behind us. We like to think that, but still there are things that are still personal preference.
Yep.
So just keep that in mind.
All right. Well, thank you guys and have a great day.
All right. Let me find the end stream. There we are. And we will see you next time. Bye-bye.